You say, okay, I have a lot of money, but you have no money unless you take profits.
When the first ever spot ETF was created for gold 10x.
And the only thing I really knew was Bitcoin at the time, so I just invested very heavily into that. Rode it all the way up.
What's up?
My name is Jess. Even the creators have said it's going to be the predecessor of CBDC.
What that taught me was that I need to be self-sufficient.
A solid DCA investment strategy, and pretend the red sell button doesn't even exist.
We about to go up like.
Right on. Hey, we are live. Welcome, fellow degens. Here we are today. We're gonna do a little follow-up with Liquid Loans. It's been an absolutely amazing protocol. And then also talk a little bit about kind of what's coming up with Earn Protocol, which I am extremely excited for and I am preparing for with PulseX. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one here, guys. But yeah, my name is Nate McGettit. You know, I'm the Ascending Man, just out here doing our thing. But hey, enough about me. Let's go ahead and move it on over to Jesse. Hey, Jesse, how you doing?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me on. This is actually pretty cool to be on here with WaLLrus, by the way. We do talk a lot behind the scenes. We're friends, but we rarely get a chance to be on a stream together. So thanks for having us on. People know me as JustAskJesse, founder of Power City. We got a whole bunch of tools that we're releasing one by one for Pulse Chain, and we'll talk about some of that today. And I'm a huge fan of Liquid Loans. We have a front end that we'll be releasing that works with the Liquid Loans contracts as well.
Yeah, like I said, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be absolutely amazing. WaLLrus, my man, you have come on to talk about that thing that launched not too long ago. What was it called again?
Yeah, Little Liquid Loans. Although I got to clear up some confusion. I don't ever remember confirming we were friends.
No, I gotta go.
I got the best seat in the house next to Jesse's new arms, man. Looking good, brother. I love hanging out. Like I said, we talked earlier today. We talk all the time, man. So yeah, it's awesome to be on here with Jesse. He is definitely a good buddy of mine. We go way back, done all kinds of stuff together in the crypto space, and yeah, hopefully we'll have a lot more cool stuff together in the future. So as you said, man, they're building stuff on top of Liquid Loans that'll be super beneficial. The other things they're releasing on Pulse Chain are going to have been and will be super impactful. But guys, yeah, we could not be more excited about how LL's gone these first 41 days. Everyone's counting down in our Telegram the hours until the LP rewards end, and we'll kind of see some extra little bullish mechanics with emissions on loan. But it's been fantastic. We've kind of had our initial wave, and as we're really getting some steam, we've seen obviously the news with RH, the Bitcoin ETFs, like lots of positivity. So now these waves are really starting to succinct here, and it's been pretty incredible, man. It's been a really, really good week or so.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I've made quite a bit of money off of Liquid Loans, and it is absolutely great. I think one of the most important things that I've realized with a lot of people who now are like, they're feeling safe enough to jump in, right? They're like, oh, what should my ICR be at, blah, 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 how much should I put in and all that? And I'm literally going, hey, you just go in there and they'll show you, like, it'll be green colored, right? Hit like 200, 250, maybe 300 ICR, you're good to go. It's really user friendly. So anyways,
that's it, man. And that'll highlight some of the stuff that like Jesse and these guys are doing as well. Is like everyone has a little different fit and finish, right? So like there's always like data that somebody wants, right? So a user that may come in and do some of the cool automated stuff, that the Power City guys are doing, like that's a flavor, right? Like some people are going to want that, and it's going to be awesome. And then we have the very product or demo video, like it's like trying to make this thing as easy as possible and digestible. But by doing that, we have, you have to remove some features, right? You can't overwhelm a user with, you can do this, and this, right? Like it's too much. So having multiple front ends helps with the decentralization of these things. It allows different users to really have kind of a customized experience. And then it also allows, guys like Jesse, myself, you guys to, sort of customize the message for an audience, right? Like there are going to be people that just pick up on my tone and delivery different than other people. So lots of different front ends, lots of different options. And then the external things that we'll be getting up with soon on things like Dune Analytics, things like DeFi Llama, lots of these external sites, so that not just Pulsicans, but the outside world can start looking in, right? So there's a lot of cool things being built in these front ends, and all these different players are adding a lot to the ecosystem. So as crazy as it's been, it is just getting going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, it's just so easy to use. I mean, going from green to yellow to red, it is what it is. Well, anyways, so the man of the hour over here, Tracker, he's got a few questions lined up for you, and just kind of an overall flow of just sort of how things are going, and then what Earn is up to. So, Tracker, take it away, man. Tracker. Hey, Tracker, mute.
How about now? I'm good now, right? Gotcha.
There we go.
I appreciate it, guys. Always having technical problems on my end. Always. Hey, so last time we met with WaLLrus, we did a huge deep dive. We've had that video posted. We beat that thing up pretty good, I thought. I mean, we went at it for about 3 hours, WaLLrus, on the whole
It was
breakdown.
a marathon, man. It's a really good piece. You've seen it in your chats. I refer people to it quite a bit, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah, appreciate it. So we went in there and did that, and then it was, I thought it went so well. And then, of course, hearing Jesse from Power City, they were doing a very similar protocol. And when it was funny, when I was interviewing, I was like, man, I don't know. I mean, do these guys, is there like some beef between these guys because they're doing similar protocols? Of course, it could be, further from the truth, basically. They're good. Everything's all good. It's all tongue in cheek here. But so that led into, bringing Jesse in to kind of dive into their side of the protocol. And honestly, we only touched based on just the Earn protocol. We didn't get into the whole Power City ecosystem that they've got going on. We touched just a little bit. So those videos are out there for you guys to really dive in and see. So we are not going to get into how to do an entire user manual walkthrough of these protocols. That's been covered. You want to see it, those videos are out there. Highly recommend it. So now, go ahead, Jesse.
I will say, like, when I ended up leaving Liquid Loans and then building things with Power City, look, I still talk to Crypto Crazy as well. And when I talked to him about the idea of, hey, I'd like to do the same exact thing again for a different coin, I won't say that there wasn't some heated discussions in that, and then some weighing of the pros and cons of what that might look like. But it's been certainly a journey. And these guys with their Fetch Oracle, I could not. We couldn't do this without them, by the way. With their support and their experience, what they're doing with Fetch, making it eventually completely decentralized so that any protocol can run price feeds through it. It's just been wonderful, right? And it's just getting started.
Yeah, it's well said. And I think, honestly, man, there's so many landmines in crypto. We really need to partner together and stick together through this journey, because, man, it's brutal out there. I mean, on a side note, it's pretty funny. I had some family telling me, "Hey, did you see that?" Because they know, I dabble in crypto. That's all they know. So they're like, "Hey, Netflix had this new thing going on about this. This guy was running this scam company, and he was using Bitcoin, and they were doing all this other, debit charges and credit cards." And I'm like, man, that's like 3-4 times a week in crypto. It seems like there's a scam project like that going on. You guys are just getting a taste. I mean, honestly, you could create a movie on just the highlights of what's happened over the last couple of years. Nobody would believe that story because it's so out there. But unfortunately, it's reality. It's crazy. I mean, it's insane.
SBF alone is a fantastic documentary. Alex Mashinsky alone is a fantastic documentary. Even things that may not seem like super as gaudy on the outside, but like what's gone on with like the disputes behind Grayscale. Like, guys, there's billions of dollars sitting in a trust, and you got guys yelling back and forth, and they're suing Gemini over their lending product. Like, oh yeah, like there's this stuff goes on for days and days. Ripple Lab, Brad Garlinghouse fighting the SEC, then butting up, doing CBDC research everywhere. Jamie Dimon saying, hey, Bitcoin's only for criminals. Oh yeah, by the way, we're also going to participate in the Bitcoin ETF. I mean, it just goes on and on. I mean, it never stops.
That's so well. And what about the SEC with their oops, that tweet wasn't supposed to go out, or we were hacked? First, they had a tweet that said, only take information directly from us. And then they had a tweet that came out and said, oops, that wasn't us. I mean, are you serious? It's ridiculous.
I mean, Jesse, I mean, it's the SEC. I mean, you can't expect them to have like, I don't know, 2FA. They literally didn't have 2FA. Like the X guys came out and talked about it. I mean,
Yeah, two-tier authentication. Yeah, that
oh,
was pretty sad, man. And then here's how I summed it up. Everybody was talking about it. It's real simple. Either A, they're incompetent, or two, they're trying to, the SEC is just trying to scam us. I mean, it's either or. Bottom line, it equals, there's a big trust factor there.
Well, why can't
So-
it be both?
you can
No, it
hide
could
a
be
lot of
both.
malice with
Probably both.
stupidity.
No, it could be both. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter. The end result is still bad. It doesn't look good either way. So, yeah, that's the issue there on going on. So we'll touch base in some of that stuff, but it's so much. It's
What?
yeah, it really
Just one last real quick thing on the
Mhm.
some of the TradFi markets. One thing is that they almost try to make this out to be like a black and white thing. Like, do you want regulated, non-regulated? Do you want like safe, unsafe? Do you want like they try to make it out that you know crypto is this wild west and everything over here is safe. It's where do you guys think money laundering went on before Bitcoin? Like, where do you think the majority of money laundering and every one of these violations goes on now? Like, do you know how many billions every one of these players pay out? Like, the Department of Defense, it's not that they failed their last audit. They've never passed an audit, not once. So one of the last little point here is this isn't a decision between safety and upside. Like, it is not that black and white. Like, there is tons of malicious actions, insider trading, and issues that go on with traditional markets. That's the last little thing. It just, they make it seem like it's safe or unsafe, and that's just not the case.
WaLLrus, are you saying that it's dirty fiat?
Yuck.
Yeah, I'll say this, and here's the other thing I'll say. I mean, obviously, this has been going on since men have been on Earth, right? The problem is, and it's those old tells, basically, who regulates the regulators, right? Meaning, you can have all this out here. There needs to be a fair, equal playing field, and it's never been fair ever. And now there's a chance that it could be fair. And this is why it's getting so much FUD in the mainstream traditional finance markets, is because it's a huge threat to the institution. Let's call it what it is. So, and as far as, I mean, come on. What was the most recent one that came out over the last couple of years where, what was it? How many billions, or was it $1 trillion that they just, and over in the Ukraine, that they just, money disappeared? We're not sure where it went.
Just an accounting error.
And yeah, it just kind of people just forgot. Nobody's talking about it because the attention span of, it seems like, of the population is so short. So you can just distract them with something else and move on to the next thing. And that seems to be, it's been going on forever. So unfortunately, it's a sad place. And honestly, the more you think about it and you talk about it, it just gets you really spun up. So the best thing is probably, just like I said, partnering together with good, solid people that are trying to achieve the same goals and try to look out for each other, navigate through this, let's call it a shitstorm. It's basically what it is, and try to come out on the other side where we're as little unscathed as possible, and we can actually have a little bit of, simple life, which is, financial freedom, to where we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right? I mean, just leave us alone. That's really all we're saying. I mean, how much piece of the pie do you need? I mean, I have to say, the BIS, they control 98% of the world GDP. I mean, that's freaking God. Can we have the other 2% and just be left alone? God. So, all right, guys. So holidays, I know we try to get this together and then we couldn't have time. And again, I understand everybody's got their things. And of course, that little Hexagon conference kicked off, which I've heard there were so many good things happening there too. It was really good to see. A lot of good networking going on. So I'll start with you, WaLLrus. So Liquid Loans launched. It came out like it was. Personally, for me, when it launched, I didn't have any second doubts. As soon as I saw that post come out there, and it was funny because the day of, people just kept saying, "Is your F5 button broken yet on your keyboard?" Because everyone was waiting for that protocol button to launch, right?
Yeah.
So finally, when it finally did launch, I think I got lucky. It came on, it flashed. I was into the UI. It had to be within the first 5 minutes, no question. Because when I went because when I went into the browser, because when I went into the vault, create my first vault, and I think I took the loans, and I went into the staking pool. I think I was already making up like 5% of the entire staking pool. So it was just like I thought, I was like, hey, I'll take that all day long. Of course, that was very short lived, but still got in there. I felt okay, good. I mean, I went through everything that the protocol did, went straight
Very
into
cool.
all aspects that there could. I didn't have any doubts because we'd already beat it up and vetted it. So straight to the borrowing area, create the vault, take some of my USDL out, go straight to the stability pool, start earning there. Went straight to the LPs, took a little bit of that, got the LPs going. And then honestly, the trick there was when you're getting your loans or you start accumulating some of that keep a little bit of that dry USDL on the side for a little bit of that arbitrage trading, because that thing was jumping around pretty crazy at the beginning. Kind of expected that. But it's kind of funny. It's bouncing around and it just kind of slowly started, finding its groove and leveling off. And then it's pretty much been pretty steady as she goes, right there, right that pegged at that $1 mark. A couple little spikes here and there with people coming in, scooping up a good chunk of it. It's
Whale
been
games,
good to see. Yeah. But
Whale
hey,
games were wild for a little while.
if I was
there.
a whale, I'd come in there and stake it. I know me and Jesse and Nate, we talked about this. Why not buy up a bunch of stable coins and stick it into it and earn some yield on some
100%.
stable coins all day long? Why wouldn't you? So that was good to see. And then I think the next thing that started jumping out to me was the liquidations. People were coming in just like we thought, coming in, creating a 120 or 110 ICR percents and getting liquidated as soon as they went in there. It's like, okay, you obviously didn't know what you were doing, And then
not all of them though.
Huh?
Some of those guys are smart.
Yeah.
No,
So
I had one guy
I
that
agree,
he
but
literally
I'm just
was
saying,
he was at 110.01 and he was a big one, and I was clicking that button so fast, and then all of a sudden, bam, he put a whole bunch more in, $30,000 worth. He put right back in. I was like, oh no.
You got to remember, USDL didn't exist until people minted it, right? So as an early guy, some of those 110 percenters, those guys were willing, because the only place to get it was to make it, right?
That's true.
They wanted to be big in the stability pool. How do you do it? You say, screw it, I'm going to take a 10% haircut. I'm going to mint as many of these things as I can and dive right in and get a big percentage of the pool.
There you go.
Right. So
Jesse,
some of those guys did that.
You sound like you might have done that.
And when the yield was so high, I mean, you made up that yield. Like, they made their money back anyway.
Yeah,
so they didn't care about that 10% loss.
Yep, I hear you on that one. Well, it was funny because one came in right away, and I forgot who it was. It was somebody it was one of the guys on the DGen side I was talking to, and we were talking because I was trying to walk him through some of the stuff, and I saw the button pop up, and I almost clicked it. As soon as I clicked it, it was already gone. I was like, dang, I missed one. I could have been. I think that was one of the very first liquidations that happened too on the portal, but the protocol. So anyhow, bottom line is I've been very happy to see it. I know WaLLrus and the team has got to be ecstatic about watching that TVL just growing. Of course, this big mega pump in the coins recently, certainly in the Pulse price in the last few days, is certainly just completely catapulted and doubled up that TVL. So that's been very impressive. So that's just a very high level, my 2 cents on Have It All, but honestly, smooth, responsive, quick. I mean, not complicated, very to the point. I will say this. I liked how you guys added an extra decimal place to the loan and USD and Pulse prices at the top, because for a while there, you couldn't quite make out what was going to be that little change. I mean, that's really picky, but outside, I mean, honestly, that everything else was nice and clean. It was spot on. You guys did a hell of a job, man. You guys crushed it. So I have to ask you, WaLLrus, so what did you guys learn from all this, man? I mean, was there anything in particular that you guys have learned since it launched? I mean, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on the team.
The first one is, man, Pulse Chain's about some DeFi, guys. That participation is wild. I think I'd have to go back and double check the dates. We actually had more active vaults, I think, within like 20, 25 days than what Liquidity had at that point, which had been active for almost 3 years. Man. Massive. The TVL that you referenced, I think last I looked, it was in the 80s. It actually clipped 90. Yeah, it clipped 90 a few times. And for those that understand, sometimes we get really jaded with big numbers in crypto. That's a top 20 lending protocol in all of crypto in 40 days. In all of crypto, regardless of chain.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, and especially think about even that number there. I think most of us would agree that PLS is underpriced, that we haven't really even got our little bull run started. Would anybody, if I said anybody, hey guys, 3 zeros and a 2 in the next month? Is anybody going to be like, oh my gosh, there's no way? Well, if PLS stays the same, we're going to be at 160 million CVL. If I say 3, 4, 5, again, over the next couple months, it's not crazy. I mean, again, I think we'd all be really happy with a nice pump, but I mean, I think most of us would see the bull case over this year substantially higher. That will, I mean, there is a very solid part of the distribution here of outcomes that will be top 10 in all of crypto lending as far as TVL is ranked inside of the next 6 months. Like that's how much this community is utilizing the protocol. And that's not stuff from the team. I'm glad our front end is awesome. We can talk all the price chart and all that stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff there. I'm happy to take all the pats on the back, but that's what the community is about. And that's how much these guys will come here and use crypto. And it's how much the community support around it, whether it's people building front ends, whether it's people just supporting the chat, whether it's you guys making content. People came here to use the DeFi. And so, the big APR numbers, I'm really excited. I've seen a couple of your guys' members. I think it was Nate I teased earlier about, you did what with loan? Teasing about some of those plays and stuff. And all that stuff's really fun. Don't get me wrong. Using the damn protocol, like that's what gets me so excited, man, is that like that TVL number, it's not just a big chart. It's not a big liquidity pool. It's active users in DeFi. And that's going to really grow when Jesse and his team get their stuff going. We're going to have another stable. There's more liquidity. There's stable to stable pairings. As those things grow, then you get into multi-asset pools. There's going to be more and more and more and more to do. And if I wanted to highlight something that we've kind of learned, it's that, man, believe me, we've got all kinds of cool stuff that we're doing that's very LL centric. But what we've noticed is we got to get back to taking care of Mother Goose. And so a lot of things that I've been focusing on, and you can tell some of the stuff in the community, is how do we get Pulse Chain, like get this life back in it. Now, obviously, RH and, the Avengers legal team that he's hired, that stuff gave a lot of confidence back and it got people really excited. But like, we got to get life in the chain. Like Pulse Chain is the most important thing. Like a lot of the DeFi is super cool. Don't get me wrong, but LL is an extension of Pulse Chain and the PLS tokenomics. There has to be life in that chart. There's got to be more things coming on, a bigger audience. There's got to be life there. So if like we're looking at TVL, I don't think how can I get double the number of vaults? I think how can I double the PLS price chart? That is more impactful for the users and for the protocol. So looking at like some of the distribution of USDL, the vast majority is sitting in the protocol, which I love. I love seeing big numbers. I like seeing 20+ million in stability pool. I like seeing 6 million in liquidity. What I really want is that USDL to go out and do interesting things. And I want people to be able to use it in interesting ways. I want to see it paired more with Coast. I want to see it paired more with DAI. I want to see the rest of DeFi come out. And I want to see guys chasing yield in other places. PulsePot just got up. I want to see people out there, using the thing, using the chain. So what I've noticed, I think that maybe I wouldn't have thought intuitively, it's how quickly I was like, man, we're crushing it. We got to get back to work. Like that sort of Goldilocks zone. I'm really excited. I love the numbers, but it has really just been right back to like, hey, we got to get back in the booth, take care of Pulse Chain, get these things out here, start reaching out to other communities, find ways to get more value in the chart. That is really what it is. And I think that's something there's a little bit of, we touched just lightly on kind of in the green room, some of this little infighting community. Guys, no one cares. No one cares, man. Go do something productive. Go pick up something heavy. And then my last little point here, and I'll stop for air, is on a lot of these tasks, people think I can't get something listed. I can't do this. I can't write code. Do what you can do. Like, oh, this project's really cool. Well, go beat on their door. And then when somebody answers, hand them over to Jesse. Hand them over to Tracker and Nate. Tell them to come on the stream. Tell them to come meet the community. Tell them to come get in front of me, in front of Gary, in front of whoever it is you think matches up with their personality. Just go get them in front. Do the part that you can do, right? Whether it's share the content, clip the content. SJ, does all the audio stuff. She just reads things over. People are running the different events. Just move the ball on a task as far as you can. Like, that's a big part, man. So guys, we're just getting going, man. Like, it's all fun to celebrate big green candles, man, but let's get back at it. Let's pick up heavy stuff.
Hey, that's a good point. I want to touch notes. I kind of want to present something real quick. Can I share my screen? Is that capable here? Let's see here. share the right one first of all. Hang on. Do this one. I figured, you know what? Because it kind of it ties into what I wanted to talk about. Let me know when you guys can see it. Okay, cool. So DeFi Llama, right? The reason why I wanted to bring this up because it goes into what WaLLrus is talking about. This is why I was kind of pinging him on the side. When the hell are these guys going to put liquid loans out here? Why?
We're getting the application handled right now. I'm hoping inside of 2 weeks. Hopefully sooner.
Okay, good. Because why? Because a lot of people come to DeFi Llama to see where are the plays, right? And right now, if you notice, Pulse Chain's not even on this list right now. Where's Pulse Chain? I think Pulse Chain is going to be down here, like down here. Okay. But if you look at Pulse Chain and we click on it, come on, you can do it. Let me refresh this guy. Oh, there we go. 194 million with the big pump we've had in the Pulse prices. Yes, 194 million has popped up on the Pulse Chain. But like we talked about on liquid loans, they're chilling over here with another 86 million on the sideline, and that's basically on the all the tones they have locked up. That's not included in the TVL here on the Pulse Chain network. So once that gets added, you will see it jump up here. Now people might go, okay, that's great and all, but once again, it's the biggest factor here. Why? Because you want it to be up here with the other ones so people can get eyeballs on it. That's the key here. The other thing I wanted to show was Earn Protocol and liquid loans. This is why WaLLrus is bringing it up. It was forked from Liquidity or Liquify. This is where it came from. Which, can you guys tell me the difference for our audiences? You've got all these different lending protocols and stuff. What exactly would you call a CDP?
I'm not sure why they're ranked there.
Collateralized debt protocol.
Yeah, okay. That's just an odd specification over lending. But
well, the reason why I was going to bring it up, because if it did pop up on here and you did get it, liquid loans would be popping up in this ballpark here already in the top 10. So once again, it's just another marketing area. Once again, the higher you're up, the more eyeballs you're going to get. And this is going to be, why is that good for the rest of the community? Well, think about it. They're coming out here and like, what the heck is this liquid loans thing? It's on Pulse Chain. What the heck is Pulse Chain? Now people are going to start looking, and it's going to start to be an opportunity for people to start to see where they can maybe chase alpha. Once they understand Pulse Chain, it's a brand new L1 network. Okay. Interesting. What's going on? It's just going to start. It's a good marketing strategy to bring in more people, which is totally valid. I'm just curious. I mean, WaLLrus. So, I know you guys are trying to put that out there, and I know once you guys get Earn out there, you guys are going to be out there as well. So I'm just curious. Are you guys going to? Are you guys looking at this too? Obviously, you're trying to get it out there, but would you agree it's a pretty good marketing to get it out there on DeFi Llama?
100%. There's a handful of things to it. So it's. In marketing, you generally got to have people hear your name multiple times. And the other is like what happens next, right? So there is a bit of like order of operations on some of these things. So if whoever XYZ, right? Whoever some big crypto person is, right? If you get in front of them and you're like, hey, check out this thing, and they're like, cool. And then they go to pull it up and it's not on that site, and they go to check another site and it's not there, and another site and it's not there. They're like, all right, cool, I got to go. So the threshold for crypto is so high. I'm sure we can all do it. If someone reaches out, hey, you want to hear about this token? I'm like, no, I don't care. Right. Like there's just only so much bandwidth. So you want it. It's the direct result of people will find it on there. The other is what happens once you initiate discussions, where can they find it? So, a bit of a double-edged sword that we have in the community is because of some of the early narratives around Hex, and because we got smart people who build cool stuff, we end up using our cool stuff, right? So there's all kinds of GoPulse and different community listing sites and multiple front ends that the community's done, some out of necessity and some out of talent. The only issue is people don't come on to GoPulse. People in Pulse Chain go to GoPulse. So you have to do both things, right? So we keep building a beautiful, flourishing ecosystem where all this stuff's really, really awesome. But you also have to make sure that you're on DeFi Llama. I had to go through and manually basically get them to get USDL at CoinGecko, and we're going through all these other big sites. Do I like CoinGecko? Nah, not particularly. Do I like CMC? Not particularly. DeFi Llama is actually pretty decent, but those guys, DeFinance, you have to go meet people where they are. So luckily, the community does such a good job that most of these things, guys like Internet Money, they put our logos up and all that stuff without, KG doesn't need anything from us. Jesse and these guys support us. We try to support everyone else around. So the communities do a lot there. but we have to be out on those things. And the same for Pulse Chain, right? Like people have to be able to come find the DeFi. So it's very, very important to be able to be seen everywhere, to not only have your own unique pitch, but to make sure that you're not too different from everyone else, that they can see these things and get in front.
So what are you currently doing to try and like forward that to being able to get it out of like just the community itself?
So one thing is, the reason like CoinGecko and CMC and some of these things are important is because so many smaller sites use them for APIs, right? So if you go and if you go and look at most sites, you'll see that they pull from somewhere else. So you start with, what's up, Toshi? You start with like, hey, let me go get to these big sites that have all these APIs out, right? Because there's a lot of downstream effects. And then again with DeFi Llama, you just have to reach out to those guys directly. So there's a team forum that we've gone through and we're sending out to those guys. Deck Screener, we're going in there and going through and adjusting some things to show like our emission schedule that'll tighten up like what our market cap is. That's a really big one. Again, market cap doesn't really matter to me. I have an idea of how to reference those numbers. Probably doesn't really matter to Jesse. Probably doesn't matter to you. But not everybody's in here in our same worldview, right? So I do want it correct. One, you want to be correct on things, but also other people value that differently than me. They might be right. I might be right. But the point is, I still want them on my side. I still want them to come in and do the next step and come click the button and open a vault and check out Earn and come watch your guys' show and come get involved in the community and check out everything else. So it's important that we have all these things layered out. So again, a lot of these things we start with some of the bigger guys because their APIs feed to so many others. And then after that, it's just one at a time. And then again, this is a great place for the community. So it's easier for me if someone says, hey, this site's really cool. So, DBank, we have a ton of listing sites that have already picked up USDL and loan. But, like things like DBank is there. They've done a great job. So again, there's that order of operations. And then for the community, man, if there's a cool tool you guys are using that doesn't have our stuff, just yell at them, figure out what the process is. And then you can just, send it to myself. Like we'll do the next part, but try to, pick that first thing up, do as much of that effort as you can. It makes a world of difference.
Mm-hmm. You guys have done an excellent job, by the way. So the community, like, look, it's been a month and like 11 days. And then people think that, oh, wow, this protocol is so awesome. We love it so much. But wait, how come it's not on such and such a site yet? Well, this stuff gets worked on, and there's literally only so many days in a month. And I can assure you that these guys are working their butts off to continually make liquid loans even better than it already is, right? So they're doing your part. If the community gets up and they start, like he said, if you just start shouting and knocking on doors yourself so that people can notice Pulse Chain, notice things such as liquid loans, that's a huge help to these guys to take some workload off of them to make your protocol better. Because it is a community protocol. This is y'all's protocol now out there.
That's right. True DeFi. So, WaLLrus, so curious, can you share any of the new features or things you guys are working on? Let me just share, just because I like to show it off, because it is a nice looking website. The nice let me take a share here.
Yeah, while you're pulling that up, so we're pretty careful about forward facing things. So we're pretty careful about your wallet's connected, just in case that's a wallet you don't want.
It's a dummy wallet. It's all good.
Just double checking.
Appreciate it, man.
When you go through and look at the front end, some things that we're going to go, again, we made some tweaks, and you can actually go and look at the release notes there and see some of the adjustments we'll make. So we've added a decimal. We tightened up some of the APR listings and how those were actually calculating there. I think one thing we're going to do is a metric called debt in front to give people some framework to work on with redemptions. Usually I wouldn't have brought this up, but CC kind of leaked it out, and he's at the top. So, when your name's on the door, you can say what you want. So the debt in front, this is just kind of cool. And I'll make this one relatively short, but for redemptions, they start at the lowest collateral vault and work their way up. So the debt in front is, if you're here and there's a bunch of vaults, you're basically, it's how much redemption roughly is in front of you if you don't want to be redeemed, and how you want to manage that. So that's a pretty simple thing to add. It's just one node. It doesn't add too much convolution. It's not confusing to a new user. So that's something that we're going to put on there again to give some framework. Mostly the DApp is really, really pretty the way it is. We're very, very happy with it. So other than a decimal place, a tweak here and there, it's set at least until the barista guys, Power City, until these other cool teams get their front ends up. And then, that's one thing we want is we want these guys to be successful. We want them to capture an audience. We want them to have cool features that build on top. And that's a big deal, right? We want some modularity in how these things all work together. So we've got our front end. So it's hey, here's the pretty one. And then, the Power City guys have got features and cool stuff. Cool. If you're a feature data driven guy, you're sitting here, if you're listening to us chat on a Thursday, man, that might be your jam. That might be your flavor there. So we're going to work on a lot of external sites, things like Dune and DeFi Llama, so that people can go through and have all that extra data to really dig in and do interesting things. And that's a big one, but those are things that we'll do external from the DApp, because again, we want it to be nice and clean, right? We want that to be the best version of vanilla. We'll let all the other flavors come out and we'll keep building external sources. That's the biggest one. And then from there, it's the protocol is mutable. It's set in stone, right? Once those contracts are launched, they're launched. It is what it is. So the bigger things that we're doing now, one, again, is a lot of focusing on Pulse Chain, trying to bring other projects in that are beneficial to Pulse Chain and might be able to add some extra value to things in the the LL ecosystem as well. And then really, really, really trying to make sure that USDL is strong. That is a big deal. Stable coins up to this point are the killer app in all of crypto. So having USDL strong is something that we find to be really, really important for all kinds of different metrics. So it'll be, the app is the DApp is there. It's very clean. We're going to let everyone else come in and put in their 2 cents and add great features and cool things. And then we're going to be trying to kind of expand the use case of the tokens in the future. We've got a lot coming with Fetch, guys. Fetch is very, very important. I am not exaggerating in that what we're really focusing on right now behind the scenes with Fetch is to make it so that it's so much easier to run a reporter, similar to a validator. The guys in the community have done a great job getting the community up to speed on those things, and you can see it in the numbers. I think that within 6 months of when we sort of take the training wheels off of Fetch and allow it to be decentralized and everyone to run reporters, I think within 6 months, the Fetch network on Pulse Chain will be the most decentralized oracle in all of crypto. And I'm not exaggerating. I think it will be the most decentralized oracle. And again, that's another calling card for the chain as a whole. That's a big deal. Having native stable coins with 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 million units, that's a big deal. Having a decentralized oracle at the scale that I think we're going to have it at is a big deal. Having community members run all the validators, that is a big deal. So that is going to be some of the big things that are coming. Mostly it's some of the things we do is we want to look big. We want to look nice and professional. We're the cypherpunks and blazers, the cypherpunks and sports coats. That's what Gene Hoffman kind of said when I was interviewing him one time. That's kind of our lane, right? We're gonna have other people that pick up heavy things and do cool stuff that are more meme centered. We're gonna have guys that are gonna be more, they're gonna keep banging the hex drum and really, talking about the OG, the one that brought us all here. We're gonna have a lot of different voices. So we're trying to make sure that we're adding powerful narratives and a lot of tools to make sure that other people can come in and build cool stuff.
I think you guys are trying to do it so it's easy for everyone too, right? So
that's it.
Usually these oracles or running validators and stuff, it's pretty hard. You got to know how to write at least some basic code, some scripts, run a Linux computer with some developer type stuff on there, right? And I think you guys are making it so almost the everyday user can just fire up a computer and run this stuff.
If you can run the validators now, then you'll be able to run what we're building there. We're everything from installation, setup of the reporter, to the monitoring tools, to things like dispute value monitoring. We're going through all of it, like with an extremely fine tooth comb. The front end is going to be the same level of product that people expect from like what they've seen with LL, and it will make a big difference. One, it's another token, it's more transactions, it's another valuable project. But again, I'm very confident it will be the most participated in and decentralized network that exists in all of crypto. And that means that it's not us, it's everyone. Everyone's going to get a chance to run the hardware, to participate. And that stuff matters. It is, I know everyone's here for number up, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of value in having your hands on these things and being able to participate at that level for those that want to. And even if you just know one person that does that, most of us like crypto more because we know guys like David Federer. Most of us like crypto more because they get to take calls from Jesse or whoever it is in crypto that does something that you don't. They just give you a little different passion for these things. So I'm very, very excited just all the way around for what Fetch will do. I know that like Fetch and an Oracle isn't like super sexy to most users, but I promise you when they see the quality of the product and it's another just jewel in the crown for Pulse Chain, people will be very excited. And when they get to start saying, we have the most decentralized network, we've got all the DeFi, we've got users, we've got green candles, we've got RH. When we keep adding narratives, this thing will get really out of hand.
I'd like to add to that because I don't think people understand how important the Oracle is here, and especially the fact that it's a DeFi Oracle. It's kind of like, how do I put the analogy here? It's basically, you can't have the internet without the infrastructure that's not sexy, nobody cares about. But if you don't have that underlying structure and that is rock solid, stable, that nobody sees, but your networks, the way things, how your protocols are communicating to one another, understanding, is it seamless? Is it scalable? All these factors that nobody thinks about them when you're a user, but you do care about it when you're a user. When you're trying to use something, the damn thing's not working, or it's bogged down and it's not having a good response time. Those are the pain in the butt process. I don't think people quite so most people aren't going to appreciate it, but they
don't know.
It's basically the structural foundation.
I read on Twitter once somebody said, PulseX has a built-in price feed. You could just use that. And look, PulseX is great. But what people don't understand is what happens when there's a V3 and your immutable protocol was calling a price from V2. And now you just killed an entire multi-million-dollar DeFi protocol, went to zero because you were calling a price that no longer exists. Everybody migrated elsewhere. So there's always that challenge. And then there's no ability to dispute, right? Having something that's consensus based, meaning the community all has to agree that this is accurate. And only when everybody agrees, then that becomes truth, is what crypto is all about. That's what crypto is supposed to be. So to have something like Fetch, where you can have somebody say, look, I believe that a price should be this. And then the entire community has to agree. And if somebody doesn't agree, they're welcome to dispute that. And it goes through a dispute process. That is the definition of decentralization.
And you have the same thing for random number generators, for off-chain data. There's things that are going to start moving into crypto that we haven't seen yet. I don't think the site was actually particularly successful, but the idea was fantastic. I believe it was like BroThrow. It had kind of a goofy name, but essentially it was, you could set your own sports betting lines and then other people could just decide to accept them. So let's say the Cowboys are playing the Niners, regardless of whatever the mechanics are, as far as what the Vegas lines are, you can go through and say, okay, well, I think the Cowboys are +7 and I'll put up $100, and then other people can come in and take the other side of that. So how does that work in crypto? Well, an Oracle has to be able to come in there and say, hey, this was the score of the game. Well, if that's not the score, to Jesse's point, well, then people can dispute that. So the Oracle not only makes things like LL and Earn and a lot of these things that we touch work, but it allows things that we probably haven't even thought about yet, and interesting things to go on. Again, random number generators, different things to all function. And as a whole, some of this stuff you don't need to know, right? Like if you're going to come in and do certain things, and a lot of times I'll bring this back to Hex. So, for example, if you're a Hex only guy, no problem, rock and roll. We're going to keep trying to pump your chain, stay in your lane, happy for you. Now, the one thing that you do want to understand is How come you can just stake Hex? Well, because other people are running validators, because someone else is running a DEX, because someone else is providing liquidity, all these kinds of things, right? So one aspect of this stuff, if this stuff is interesting to you, cool, we're building it for you. If it's not interesting to you, cool, we're trying to make it easy so that you don't have to care, right? If everyone else is running reporters and doing their thing, then you can just come in and rock Hex. You can just do whatever it is you like to do. You want to just do art and run NFTs? Cool. We're trying to make it so that all these things will function in a way that you don't have to worry about them, and that DeFi is doing its job and people can come in and participate how they choose.
And to add to that, with how many validators does this Pulse chain currently have now?
All of them, 50,000.
It's like 30. It's crazy how many there are. I saw a funny chart. I think I was watching somebody else, and they posted it out there, and I was laughing because it was like, looked at Solana. They got like 23 validators. and I was like, "Are you shitting me? 23?"
There's that's a debate for another topic. This is something that RH brought up when originally they were going to use the code base that comes from BSC. That's a delegated proof of stake, and this is like a very like ethos question all the way back into crypto when you get into like big blocks and some of the things that were going on with like SegWit and ways to optimize around node participation in Bitcoin. So essentially, you can have a lot of nodes and you're going to have a lot of DeFi, but in general, you're going to have a fall off in node capability, right? So like, why does everyone basically use AWS? Well, because it works really well and it's super fast and efficient. What's the downside? Well, it's centralized, right? So you have this scaling between how many people are going to run a node anyway. Okay, what capacity do you need these things to run at? So there's a lot of trade-offs that go into some of that stuff. So like for Solana, one, they've done a lot better. Honestly, the Solana always goes down. That stuff's a little. I get as crypto guys, it's an easy narrative. It's a little overplayed, honestly. I think we hate too much on their downtime, especially recently. But Solana has a low number of nodes because they have insane node performance. So there is a trade-off there. I think with what most volumes networks see, you're better off doing what we're doing now. But there's a trade-off there. There's actually a really sort of like philosophical and performance discussion there.
And just for our audience, just because they know when WaLLrus is saying AWS, he's referring to Amazon's cloud services. He's not talking about Amazon. You order e-commerce, please don't confuse that. And the other one is like there's other competitors out there. I mean, you have Azure, which is Microsoft, and you got of course Google Cloud. They have their own. So those are the ones there. But like he's saying, it is centralized, and that's the problem here. And so it's kind of funny. All these companies are migrating a lot of their stuff to the cloud, right? So you're handing over all your metadata, all your information, all your stuff in there, and you're giving it to these companies, and it's being almost like it's quickly migrating to these cloud companies, those three in particular, to where once they have all this data, they're going to cross-reference data and be able to build out any type of metrics they need on anything. So DeFi is truly important and for many reasons. Once again, if you have DeFi and it's more validators or people around there or the technology is there, then it's going to keep people honest and it's going to keep it more of an equal playing field and not it will cut down on heavy manipulation on that aspect. Just a real geek question here, WaLLrus. So your developers, do they develop like in an agile type SDLC framework, or what are they using as their? I'm just curious, how the developers are, because I haven't developed in anything with and crypto related. I'm just curious how they're developing. I don't want to take up too much of the audience's time on that because I know it'll bore the hell out of most people.
At the scale you're asking the question, well, I mean, they use a variety of different environments, and it depends on what they're working on, right? So like the Solidity guys do different stuff than like the DevOps guys, and the ones that are looking at reporting networks. So they use a lot of different environments. To the specific question, that's a little over my head. I usually just hey, what is this doing? All right, great.
I just didn't know if they were working in just in an agile environment where they're using like something like Jira and stories, and do they have like a DevOps pipeline or something of that nature? I was just curious on that.
We use both. So we have in Jira, and they'll go through and work through that kind of ticketing system to make sure everything's gone. It goes through the proper channels. We, as most people have probably noticed if they're waiting, we're not the fastest team, but I promise our documentation is on the backside is. Sometimes when we go through a process, I get irritated just listening to them go through it. Like it's like if they're doing one thing, they might be at that decimal. I bet you I can't tell you how many checks and balances there were when they added a decimal. Like
OCD. Yep. That's how they gotta be.
People with OCD would get tired of us. We are very, very, very process driven on that side. Those guys, I love those guys, and I'll reach out. And now they've realized, like, sometimes, to your point, I'll ask those guys a question, and 20 seconds in, I'm like, hey, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're saying, man.
Yeah.
I said, did it work yet? No? Okay, cool. Thanks, man. Just let me know. I'll walk off. So, and again, that's one of those things. Again, it kind of goes into community. Even when you look at our dev team, like we have the like, I think Jesse's kind of like, Jesse's a, what if we do this? This could be better. Like he's a punctuation, trying to find edges. How can we make this thing great? Like, let's build something new. Can this be better? This is a better way. Like that's his drive, his kind of methodology. And we have some of those guys, and then we have some that are like, no, we're not doing anything new. And you know, you kind of meet in the middle in a positive place. And our DevOps guys are like, I don't care about your timelines. Oh, WaLLrus, you're in marketing. I'm really happy for you. Shut up, get out of my way, man. I don't care. I'll get it to you when I get it to you. And it works to be a good balance. So even inside of like the team, there's a lot of these checks and balances. And you know, working with Dave and Christian's an absolute blast. Dave is more on a marketer. He's kind of similar to my speed. You know, he played football, soccer, you know, so he's got that, like, I don't care. Where's my stuff? Like, get it figured out. Like, you know, kind of, you know, talks like a coach, has a lot of that kind of methodology. Mm-hmm. And then CC's like, why are you speculating? Like, no, where's the data? Calm down. Like, so we have a really unique team, and it's a blast to work with those guys, man. Couldn't ask for a better team.
Sounds eerily, that sounds really familiar there. I mean, the reason I looked, I mean, I've been in software engineering, and I'm just always curious to see how other teams operate and how that goes down. So that's why I was asking. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm just sitting here smiling because I was there. I know exactly what he's talking about.
Well, you get in there. I mean, everyone's trying to get the same thing, and it's just the developers tend to be so close to it, and some developers get really married to the code, and it's like, no, we can't change this. No. And then you got other people that are pushing against them, and it's like, well, wait a minute. And so it is a constant push and shove. Try to get everybody to come to an agreement on. So especially when you're refining stories or you're going in through testing, like, well, hold on now, that did pass. What do you mean it didn't pass? So you get in those back and forth. It's always interesting. All right. I know, WaLLrus, you have to leave in about 5 minutes. So I was just curious, you know, maybe we can, anything you'd like to talk about, anything that's coming up or anything you'd like to share. I know we had the Hexkin conference. I know, you know, the whole macro spot ETFs, everything like this. I'll let you have the last 5 minutes on what you'd like to talk about before you got to dip.
I just did a video on it, but have you guys done much of an overview on the motion to dismiss from RH?
I have not dove into it very much. How about?
Yeah, not.
I mean, I've heard about he's got a dream team, and I know that he's presenting it, and I saw some of the dates that they put in, and when, you know, the SC has to take note of it. But when I saw those dates, it looked like it was kind of dragging out. But obviously, you sound like you really want to talk about it. So let's dive into it. What you got?
I did a short video on it. I know it's some people, it's not like that interesting of a topic. I try to kind of punch it down into some nice clean points. What I wanted to highlight about it, one, just like kind of for our community, and then there's another part about like what narratives and what to do with it. So it is extremely polished. We have an expectation that everyone thinks that like every big business guy is like an Elon, right? Like you kind of have these standards in your head, right? You know, if you do like, oh, well, like that thing there, nah, that doesn't make any, you know, that, of course they do that. It's like, do they? You know, of course the SEC has 2FA, right? Right. So we have this expectation at scale that, not that people don't make mistakes, but just that there's a certain level of competence there that's very assumed and is not always there. This thing, like, I looked at this, my father's a lawyer. I sent this to my dad, and I was like, look at this thing. And he was just like, goodness gracious. You know, just the quality there is extremely high. And then when you look, obviously, again, everyone's kind of chalked by the team that kind of made the rounds. This is a 9-figure type legal team, which is really impressive. The things that are big are 3 things here. And this kind of goes into what our message should be. I don't really like Ripple Labs. I don't like CBDCs. I don't like their centralized nonsense. I don't own XRP. But I was really for them against the SEC, and I was very vocal about that, right? I don't have to agree with them on everything. I can agree with them on something. I'm not that big a fan of the guys over at Coinbase for the majority of things. But I'm very with them on investment contracts. I'm very with them on pushing back on the major questions doctrine. And even on exchanges, I don't think that they're perfect, but there's a lot going on there. People need to be getting out that RH is taking up the same mantle as Coinbase on those things and on freedom of speech, and that blockchains are speech. You don't have to be a Hexagon to back these things. You don't have to be a Pulsekin to back these things. You can be a Bitcoiner. You can be an ETH guy. You can be a Solana player. It does not matter. These things are universally agreed upon in crypto. These things should all be things that we should be making a rally cry around. You don't have to like anything we do. You don't have to like me or LL or Jesse or none of these things. We're all here for freedom of speech. We all do not want the SEC just slapping securities on these things. We don't want them coming in and bullying the industry. Everyone should be in a very non-tribal way saying, hey, guys, RH is the next person taking up the mantle the same way you guys backed Brad, the same way you guys backed Coinbase, that we backed Jeff and the guys over at Kraken before, and CZ on certain things. Everyone in crypto should have RH's back, regardless of what you think about RH. That should be one of our big rallies for the next length of time, not only because this shit matters, but also it'll be beneficial for your back. So if you don't care about anything of this stuff and all you want is your number to go up, this is a way to do it. Pretend like you care for a while. These things are really important. These things can have a big impact on how things go in the US, on what your freedoms will be to transact in the future, and in how big green candles can be in the future. Making sure that everyone knows, hey, we are doing our part to stand the ground and to hold the line on these things. This is very universal. This is very open. This is what we need to be talking about. We need to be talking about how good the DeFi is, how good the community is. Everyone on Twitter, no one cares. Knock it off. The most things that matter right now are backing RH and these specific points there on the case, and on building cool DeFi and making sure that DeFi is a place to prosper. The crypto already won. Crypto's not going anywhere. Crypto won, period. The fight now is crypto going to be theirs? Is it going to be CBDCs? Are you not going to have a part in it? Or is it going to be DeFi? And is it going to be the things that we stand for? This is the battle going on right now. That's what's important, man. So that's my last little 5 minutes there. I'll get off my soapbox, and then everybody should be standing on theirs. This should be a universal rally cry in crypto. They should have our backs on this the same way that our communities have had theirs.
Well said. Well said, WaLLrus. That's fantastic. Yeah. I can't agree. I mean, everyone's going to agree with you on this one. You're right. We don't all have to see eye to eye, but there are certain factors that are all, pretty straightforward, that if we're going to succeed, this is where it comes down to. And unfortunately, we're starting to impose onto traditional areas. Traditional finance, they don't like it, so they're going to use everything they can to try to fight us, and this is what it is. But there's something, at least in the United States, it's called the Bill of Rights, and sorry, there's some things you don't like it, but unfortunately that is law. So those things are going to have to bubble up at some point. Hopefully, it's a fair, hopefully, honestly, I wish the governments were a little bit more like DeFi, in the sense that, it's a little bit more of an equal playing field. But WaLLrus, it's been a pleasure. Yep. We will put in the comments a link to WaLLrus and Liquid Loans, so you guys can see their content, and get you a link to where WaLLrus and his videos he's been putting out. So he puts out a lot of great content. Please follow him, and we will, like I said, get that down there for you. WaLLrus, I know you got to go. Hey man, it's always a pleasure. Appreciate talking to you, and take care. And we look forward to what Liquid Loans has coming up.
Appreciate it, guys. Jesse, it's always good to hang out on stream. Let everybody know we actually are friends, buddy. And I'm sure you'll kill it on the rest of the show, man. I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Yeah.
Have a good one, WaLLrus.
See you.
All right, Jesse. Hey, man. So, yeah, that's hilarious. I thought it was funny because, like I said at the beginning, I had no idea. I didn't know how to take that, man. But, yeah, you guys it's all good. It's all good. It's fantastic, man.
Man, I told people from the beginning, like, if you go in the Liquid Loans Telegram, by the way, and you search, I don't know what to search for. I have a message in there that I posted with my decision to step away from Liquid Loans. right?
Mhm.
There's no animosity there.
Yeah.
It wasn't because we were fighting or because like we don't get along or we're not friends. Look, we're friends. I literally had another team, the Power City, that was building stuff, and I needed to be there and help those guys. So there's only so much. Like I said earlier, I think I said this. There's literally only so many days in a month and so many hours in a day. So you got to prioritize some things. And I thought it was extremely important and noble to be able to step away and with my current team, build something on top of Liquid Loans, right? Build a front end, an automated front end on top of Liquid Loans.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. And I know you guys are building on that. So let's dive into it. So I know you guys talked about it. Let Liquid Loans have some time to breathe, let it run, let it have its staying. Let the Oracle fetch, get that in place, whatnot. So where is Power City's implementation on the Earn protocol? Where are you guys at currently?
Yeah. So it's interesting because they've been a little bit of a guinea pig, right?
Sure.
We've been able to see what people like and what people are hesitant about, how people participate in certain pools, and what people understand. Do people understand the various moving pieces of this, or are people diving blindly into it? So it's been really interesting and eye-opening to see that a ton of the community really likes or like the idea of Liquid Loans. And they don't really even know what they're doing, right? So that's been super eye-opening.
All right, let's dive into that. I'd love to hear you. I got to hear it, man. All right, so what do you think people are missing on Liquid Loans?
Well, if you look at the test net for both Earn and Liquid Loans, you'll actually see that not a whole lot of wallets participated. And no matter how much hammering in those telegrams that you told people, hey, it's live on testnet, go check it out, you need to learn how to use it, and then you see that wallet count of people actually trying it, it's like, oh, there's only like 300 people that have ever played with the testnet on this
thing. Really? It was that low?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty small. I don't know what it is now, I haven't looked recently, but it was always kind of small to me. And now you see Liquid Loans, it goes live. And you see a lot of people who are just diving in, asking questions that would have easily been answered had they participated a little bit on testnet, at least. If they had maybe cracked the white paper and read it once or twice, which is an easy read, by the way. And the Power City Earn protocol white paper is also very easy to read. But people just don't do that. People will throw money at something and they expect that they're going to be rich within 24 hours, and you can't bother them to understand how to go use the protocol, right? Well, once they realize they're not rich within 24 hours and they start yelling and screaming, and then they're like, oh, maybe I should have learned how to use this. That's when they pile back into the Telegram and they start begging for answers how to use something. Listen, y'all. Education is critical. Liquidity is not a difficult protocol. There's three major moving pieces to it. The vaults, where you can take a loan, the stability pool, where you can park some stable coins, and then the staking pool, where you can sit and you can earn stable coins and other things, right? And once you break it down into these three things, you say, okay, what does this pool do? How do I use it? Takes 15 minutes to learn what the next one is. Oh, this other pool, this is how that works. Takes 15 minutes to learn what that one's all about. If you just give this thing an hour of your time to really deep dive into it, it is much, much better. It's better for your bags when you know what you're doing, right? Like you guys were had already deep dived into it, and you said within 5 minutes of Liquid Loans going live, you had piled in. You knew how to use it. You've made all your money back. You've
pretty close, actually.
Yeah. But there's there's also people in the Telegram who haven't even claimed their tokens yet, right? So like there's completely opposite sides of the spectrum there. If you want to make this thing's about being your own bank. Liquid loans and our own protocol, they're all about being your own bank.
Or it's like running like a little mini business. Sure.
Yeah. So if you want to make money, if you want to be the bank, you need to learn how to do it. It ain't hard, but you at least got to put an hour of effort into it.
Yeah, I would say this. My take was, if I'm going to go after something, I'm really going to dive into it. And then the next best thing is bringing on a founder, somebody who understands the protocol, then making sure during that presentation we did with WaLLrus as well as yourself, what we were looking at was, all right, we're going to explain what we think, how we interpreted it. Did we hit the mark or we missed the mark? So we can get that correction cleared up. That was by far the best experience. So then when we went live, I'm not exaggerating when I say I already had my vault created. I was in the stability pool. I was staking loans, and I created my LP pool. I was done in probably 10 minutes the time it launched. I was already done. Well, maybe the LP took an extra 5 minutes. I had to go to PulseX and join the coins, whatever. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to jump into something like this or any type of pool, I agree with Jesse. Do your due diligence, but at the same time, I already had my idiot notes laid out for me. So when it launched, I'm not like everybody else stumbling all over themselves trying to figure out, what do I do now? Well, if you wrote your notes to yourself when you had time to really think it clear, you're just doing step 1, then doing step 2, step 3, and I don't even have to think twice about it. And that's how it just went right down the line. Yeah. And knew that I wasn't making a mistake because I already knew what the game plan was. So yes, I agree, but I'm shocked that only 300 or someone, that's such a small number, did the test, because the fact that it's even out there and the fact that you can play around with this and check it out and familiarize yourself with the protocol, like you said, the interface it's clean, but it's very simplistic. I mean, yeah, it doesn't take long to figure this out. And even then, I know liquid loans, and I know, on the Earn protocol as well, you have documentations out there. We put together a PowerPoint presentation with a combination of what we created, and we merged it together with some of the documents are out there, so the users could at least see like a cliff note of here's your bulletin points. Here's a picture of what you do with the whole protocol and where you fall into each one of these terminologies, whether it's the borrowing, the stability, staking pool, or LP rewards. It doesn't, I mean, we try to make it as simplistic as possible, but like you said, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of people that just aren't willing just to put in a little bit of effort. It's really crazy. And I get it. Some people, but I think teach their own. And I think it goes back to what you're saying too. Some people just want to stake and just keep, holding everything they're earning, but they're running their bank as they choose to do it. So that's how I'm looking at it.
So let me tell you about Earn. So
absolutely,
it is. It's built. It's done. We're waiting for some Oracle stuff from the Fetch team, right? And I'll talk about that in a second.
Very nice.
But
awesome.
What you'll find is, well, let me tell you why we decided to build it first. So we knew, I knew, because I came from the team, I knew that Liquid Loans is going to be wildly successful. All right. To have the first native stablecoin on the chain, completely decentralized, all these things that people like in crypto, right? But we also knew that there was a huge community that was holding PulseX. Now, Liquid Loans is designed for Pulse. What about all those guys with their PulseX? What if they wanted to take some value out, collateralize their favorite asset? And if you've seen some recent videos out there, there's people who absolutely love their PulseX. They don't ever want to let it go. And they should have an option to lend against it and mint a stablecoin. There's tons of value on the chain. It's the biggest pool. It's the biggest valued asset on the chain other than Pulse itself. It's a Richard Hart coin. So you got Pulse, huge amount of value there. You got PulseX, huge amount of value there. And both of those things are paired together, by the way, in the biggest pool on Pulse chain. Millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of those things are pulled together. So what's the difference between them? Well, one of them, of course, is there's a protocol that uses it. The other one's the gas coin of the chain. But at the end of the day, value-wise, and with as big of a pairing and as big as the communities are for each of them, they're just two different ticker symbols. That's all they are, right? And you can easily create a lending protocol, a liquidity fork on top of PulseX, and also have it be wildly successful and have the same people on the chain who hold both, or the people who just like PulseX, not selling their PulseX because they'd rather take a loan against it. And a whole bunch of earning potential as well, right? You've still got the stability pool, you got the staking pool, you got all these mechanics that people like. You get to repeat that process all over again with the other favorite asset on the chain, PulseX, right? So it was kind of a no-brainer. Initially in the early days, we weren't sure if it was going to be a great idea because we didn't know immediately what the liquidity was going to look like. So Richard, of course, likely controlled a lot of that liquidity depth. How big was that pairing going to be? Was it going to be to DAI? Was it going to be to Pulse or USDC? Was it just going to be $1 million worth of liquidity? Was it going to be tens of millions of dollars worth of liquidity? We didn't have those answers. But there was a Telegram room where a lot of the, you could say the OGs of Pulse Chain, before Pulse Chain even existed, it was still being built. We were all in there with Richard while he was discussing what should happen, right? And it became very apparent in there through everyone's discussion that PulseX was going to be a massive liquidity pool. And that was the light bulb moment where it was like, we've already thought about this. We weren't sure if it was going to be a good idea simply because of liquidity. But now that we know there's going to be huge liquidity, thick liquidity for this coin, this is a great asset to choose from. The last thing you want is a very thin liquidity token with a stable coin backing it. It becomes a little bit dangerous, right? Let's say you have a coin with 100K worth of liquidity, but you've got 50 million market cap or something, right? And then you fire up a lending protocol on it, and next thing you know, you have 25 million stable coins backed by a coin that's ultimate liquidity is only 100K, right? So now you just created all these stable coins. Cool, great, they're all redeemable, but it's off of an extremely volatile asset that the only way to get value out is to unwind it all back the other direction anyway, and the liquidity pool is only 100K, right? So it just doesn't work on thin liquidity. But once we knew that PulseX was going to be really, really thick, the thickest pool on chain compared to Pulse, it was instantly a no-brainer. Had some discussions. I called crypto crazy. We had some talks. We had some debate, I'd say. And eventually they came around that, look, this thing is always designed to be decentralized. And it's not a bad idea to have multiple stablecoins on chain and even pair those things together. You can dampen some of the volatility of the stablecoins when you start pairing them together. That's what Curve's all about. That's what Fux protocol is all about. A balancer over on the Ethereum chain, that's what that does. So the more of these things you have, really, that make sense, the ones that make sense with thick liquidity, and you start pairing them together, they actually start to help each other, right? So that was kind of the idea for Earn Protocol. There's some slight differences, being that the community, it seems that their bag size seems to be a bit smaller, but there are a lot more of them. It made sense for this protocol to have a smaller barrier to entry for the loan. So instead of a 2,000 minimum, it's got a 500 minimum.
Yep.
A $50 gas set aside instead of a 2,000 minimum with a 200 gas set aside. So that allows a couple things. That allows more users to come in, which there are more users. There's tons of people in PulseX, even if their bags are smaller than most of the Pulse guys. But it also allows those people to be more easily collateralized when they don't have to come up with like $2,000 worth of PulseX, or let's say somebody wanted to be 1,000% collateralized. Well, that could be a little bit difficult to do when you're starting at 2K. That's the minimum loan size, and you want to be 1,000% up and over that. That can be hard for the average person, especially with PulseX. So when you lower that barrier to entry and you say, okay, 500 minimum, well, now shoot, somebody can be 200% collateralized with only $1,000. Somebody can be 400% collateralized with $2,000. And it just makes it easier for people to be safer. And it also allows people to likely mint a lot more of these stable coins because the barrier to entry is lower. So that's the one single change we made. It wasn't really a change at all that we had to make from Liquidity, because Liquidity already had that in their code initially. They had a 500 and a 50.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep. And to this, Jesse, I know we covered all this in the last video with everybody. I know you're putting that out there. There were a few minor deltas, but just for everyone's sake, I mean, the protocols, but the way you use the protocols are still the same. Everything's
all the same.
It's just the slightest differences. And honestly, like you said, that's the best way to put it for the Power City guys, as far as the earn protocol, is the barrier of entry is definitely a lot lower.
Yeah.
Hey, looks like we got ourselves a anonymous bean in here. How's it going, Brandon?
What's up, guys? Jesse, how you doing?
Good,
just
man.
Want to hop on. Been listening, and man, I just want to say I'm stoked. Liquid Loans is so far been the best the most fun project that I've enjoyed since it launched. And thanks to Tracker Nate and WaLLrus for our deep dive. If it wasn't for what you guys put together and what you guys now put together for Earn, I'm ready to roll, and I can't wait. You know, I sacked for PulseX. I didn't sack for Pulse. I actually have a very good bag of Pulse, and a lot of people have been kind of giving up their PulseX. They're saying, hey, I'm going to focus on Pulse. For me, I think it's important to have every coin in the Richard Heart ecosystem, because I think they're all going to pump different times, and I think that Earn protocol is going to be a huge asset to the people that are bullish on PulseX like myself. So really looking forward to Earn.
Mm-hmm. The whole idea is giving this thing utility, right? So some people are complaining that PulseX does not have enough utility, that there's no DAO, there's no single-sided staking, but look, it's still a great swapping platform. If you compare it to Uniswap doesn't have anything to do, right? PulseX at least has some pools you can participate in and get that extra yield with the INC token. So it's still over and above Uniswap. So nobody should be complaining. But we're trying to like bring this extra, we can do something else with our PulseX now instead of just selling it, instead of just holding it and watch it go down, maybe sometimes go up. There's something else you could do with it. I think that's really going to help.
Hey, Jesse, I got two more questions to ask, and then I'm going to let Nate take over. But so you're waiting on something to do with the Oracle fetch. Yep. Obviously, that's an impediment for you guys. Mm-hmm. So loaded question. It's the question everybody doesn't really want to deal with, but I have to ask it. So with the Oracle fetch, if that's in place, you guys would be ready to go and make your changes and implement and go live here shortly if that was the case? Or do you have any insights on when those impediments with Oracle fetch is going to be resolved?
We're ready to go as soon as we have that. So just to tell you where we're at, we've submit. You can look at the fetch GitHub if you want. You can see some PRs, so pull requests that have been made. Basically, we submit our price feed saying this is the time weighted and time volume average and the token pools that we would like our reporters to use, right? We submit that to Fetch. Their dev team has reviewed that. They've approved that and sent that back. There's some, but Fetch is not completely live yet for the entire community, right? You have to have tokens. You have to have at least some documentation so you can fire up these reporters and run the nodes and stuff, right? So the next step is we have a meeting so we can discuss how that stuff works so we can prep ourselves, right? I don't want to say that we're going to be out before everyone else is able to use Fetch, but we're going to be ready probably before anybody else is ready to use Fetch, if nothing else.
Okay.
And that's a result of us just pounding on their door as well, saying, look, we're ready to use this thing. We're anxious. We know we need it or would like it. There's actually other ways to do this. They're not as good, but we're ready for this thing. So we've kind of been pounding on their door. And of course, they're happy to oblige. That's what the protocol is all about. It's supposed to get used. It's supposed to be decentralized, all these things, right?
Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, so basically you're waiting on them and you guys are ready to go. Okay. That's more understandable. So we'll get a closer date when we get some time on that. And that's totally fair. One final question I got to ask you. And the reason I'm asking you is because personally, me, and I think a lot of other users have been trying to bypass Ethereum, right? So a lot of us have been trying to bridge and bypass, Ethereum, so we don't have to get hit with the fees. And right now, if everybody thinks the fees are high, wait until the full-blown bull market, and you're really going to see what fees look like. All right. So with that being said, WaLLrus, is there something that users can do to increase their opportunities of bridging tokens over? Because a lot of times the thing that I keep hearing about is the trade is not available. I mean, when you're bridging it. So can you speak on that? I'd love to give you an opportunity on that.
So we optimized a little of that we could, but people have got to understand that liquidity through bridges, through these types of platforms, is always going to be from where is Pulse? Is it on any central exchanges? Is it already wrapped and on these other chains? So do you find wrap Pulse on BSC? No, you don't. Do you find wrap Pulse on AVAX? No, you don't. Because none of the whales in the Pulse chain community have bothered to bring some over there, right? So what you're left, and by the way, on ETH and AVAX and all these things, you do find it. You find AVAX wrapped over to BSC. You find BSC coin wrapped over to AVAX and over to Phantom and all these places, right? So bridging between all these other chains where people have done that is really, really easy. With Pulse Chain, nobody's doing that. There's one bridge, and that's Richard, that everyone decides to go to. And then there's one other entity, and that's Change Now, who has very, very small liquidity with some tokens. And those are paired to some of these other side chains like AVAX and Phantom Chain and all these things, right? But their liquidity pool is very, very small. So it's a little bit challenging. If somebody wanted to go through from AVAX to Pulse Chain using Portal X, yeah, sometimes it's going to be available in a small amount, like $1,000 or $1,500 worth of whatever into Pulse. At other times, depending on the weighting in Change Now's pool, it's not available yet. They got to reweight that pool because too many people came in. They got to do a round robin to get some back over there. Okay, so it becomes challenging. So what we decided to do, because we can encourage, but we're not completely in control of all these various other entities. And if they decide to hold Pulse and list it and hold it and all these things, we decided to use what was available. So just last week, we finished migrating or incorporating the Richard Hart Pulse Bridge contracts into PortalXSwap.io. So in the DApp, if you're, and this doesn't help your gas problem, but if you're on ETH and you want to go to Pulse Chain with ETH, it's very easy. You just select ETH, you drop down the menu, you say, I want to go to Pulse Chain, wrapped ETH, it'll search, it'll find Pulse Bridge, you click it, bam, you just went through the bridge, through the official bridge right there. So the official bridge is now incorporated into our thing. If you select the native token on ETH and the wrap thing that's going to end up on Pulse Chain. The next step, and that's getting built out, is swaps on both sides. Okay, so let's say you had Link on Ethereum chain and you want Hex on Pulse chain. Okay. Portal X would do the swap. It would go through the official bridge, and then it'll do a second swap on the other chain. Okay. That's being built out. And also that does not help your gas problem as well. So actually it'll help a little bit of your gas problem because Change Now can easily swap from like AVAX in, well, not the gas problem per se. You still got to go through the bridge, and that's expensive. But it'll kind of open the door to all those other side chains. So if you got AVAX, you got Binance Smart Chain Coin, you got all these other things, and you want some random token or you want Hex or something on Pulse Chain, it becomes very easy. But the gas problem is still an issue. I can't solve that.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. I'm not gonna lie.
Richard decided to open his official bridge straight to Ethereum chain. Why? Well, because they got tons of value over there. But with that, there's the gas issues. So
yeah, it's a shame because I mean, just for everyone's knowledge here, it's a big concern in the community because if somebody can actually get in there, I know we jump through hoops to try to bridge stuff over, but once again, if it's easy to use for the user, it's easier for people to migrate funds into the Pulse chain. Thus, you have more adoption. Thus, price goes up, right? I mean, that's the simplistic viewpoint. So yeah, that's going to be a problem. So really, it really comes down to people providing liquidity on those pairs, or at least on the wrapped versions on the networks in order to ensure that people can bridge. So that's definitely something the community needs to come together on.
I've got this idea, and it could take years before people start doing it, but we've got to see these native stable coins that we're making on Pulse chain. We've got to see them over on other chains. So we've got to start seeing guys bridge USDL out to Ethereum chain, for example, PXDC out to Ethereum chain, and go pair it to ETH, go pair it to DAI, go pair it all these places, right? And really that total value lock that you were talking about earlier, that's adding up all the stuff, the DAI, the USDC, all the stable coins that are bridging into Pulse chain.
Correct.
And the stable coins that are created on Pulse chain, they're not really extractable value from the chain because at the end of it, you still got to route through those to get back out. You still got to route through DAI, for example. But you don't have to. Once the whale guys start saying, I've got too many of these stable coins, what am I going to do with them? Well, get up, go through the bridge with some of them, and go pair it to ETH. Go make some money over there. Go put it in Curve Protocol. Go make some money over there. It's okay to bridge it over to ETH. And now you did make the value on Pulse chain go up, because that then becomes extractable value in those pools over there on ETH. All right. Now we've also got to do the same thing with Pulse. Instead of all this, how many people are going to come into Pulse chain, which is good for now. In the early stages, this is great. But eventually, a year or 2 years out from now, we're going to have to see Pulse start to spread its tentacles out to other chains. It's going to make bridging in from those chains much easier. And it's also going to make the marketing and the eyes on Pulse chain much easier. Like I said, you can go to Uniswap right now. You can find FTM. What is FTM doing on ETH? It's its own coin with its own blockchain. It's because it was bridged over there, and there's tons of it on ETH. We've got to do the same thing with Pulse and with the native stablecoins that are made off of Pulse and PulseX from Pulse chain.
Yeah, and the feed to it, I mean, these are challenges all new L1s face, and honestly, these are not necessarily horrible problems to have, because everything seems to be working correctly. Everything seems to be stable and fine. Now it's just trying to open up to the masses for mass adoption. Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to clear that up
there, because this will not be the last time I say this, right? I just need to bug in everybody's ear that this stuff we need to start thinking about this, because 2 years from now, it is going to become an issue we need to solve.
Exactly. No, I'm glad I wanted you a chance to kind of speak on that, because I know that seems to be a reoccurring theme I'm hearing from people in PulseX. So to be clear, guys, it's not the PulseX team, it's not Portal X, it's the fact that there's just not enough liquidity on both sides to actually create the bridges over, and that's the big problem. That's a community problem. It is not Power City's problem. It's basically our problem that we need to try to resolve. So I appreciate you clearing that up, Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
Nate.
Agreed. One
Nate,
thing.
anybody else?
Oh yeah. One thing I wanted to speak on the Portal X issue. So here's what I've learned, right? And Portal X can work very well, but it's like an extra step right now, just because it's not, I would say, possibly as easy to use. It's gonna like just put your money there, bam, bam, right? So what I end up doing when I onboard, right, is I'll simply bring my money in through a centralized exchange, right? And then I'll move it to the native whatever chain, whether it's Phantom or it's AVAX or it's Polygon, right? And then from there, I'll want to move it in through Portal X and then into Pulse Chain. I was originally doing this with Polygon, and I was saving a lot of gas money, a lot.
Yeah.
But then, I ran into that problem of like, oh, trade not available. And it's like, okay. And a bunch of other people started running into it. So what I've learned to do now is when I get the money onto the centralized exchange, I will then go to Portal X and put in, like I'm going to go do this, and then switch between them and see which one is working at the moment. And then however much I want to bridge over. And then once I figure out which one is working at the moment, I'll be okay, cool. And then I'll send it off to that chain. So that's what I've learned. And usually it's US Tether, that USD Tether, right? That's the one that I normally go with because that seems to be the most liquid between all three chains. So
Okay, so
just play safe and gas.
Question here. Well, it's a good workaround. So my question: USDT. Once you bridge to the network from the central exchange to the network, and you bridge from that network into Pulse Chain using USDT. So which networks tend to be the ones that seem to work? Polymatic.
So Polygon has been the most reliable, I would say, and then AVAX after that. And I have noticed that if Polygon is not working, AVAX will work, and then vice versa.
Okay, so between Polymatic and
Avalanche, time I had to use Phantom. That was me like, what am I doing?
Okay, so between those three, you tend to you'll get a hit. Is what I'm hearing. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. I will. I have not. I love that. I have not had an issue yet moving funds through. Well, the first time I actually had to go back through Ethereum, but that was before I discovered this method, and I was like, "Really? Are you kidding me?" So that
Just
might
curious on the slippage. Are you running into any slippage there?
No, not nearly that bad. No.
Nothing significant. All right, cool.
Yeah,
all right.
No, it's
Nothing,
worth the
nothing
worth
as bad
the
as
gas.
the fees on Ethereum.
Yeah, well worth the gas, saving on gas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The slippage might also depend with how much you're bridging over, though, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's going to be thin liquidity with all these little side chain stuff.
Just doing small batches.
Sasha says, "Isn't Uniswap the most liquid?" Yeah, but you're going to lose it all in gas, right? So you might have some more slippage or whatever using AVAX to do this, but you're still saving money because the gas fee is like less than a penny.
And to add to this, though, so if you're doing small amounts, Nate's solution, going that route, seeing which network you could go, that's the way to go. If you're dealing with large amounts of money, the fees on Ethereum are not going to be your concern. So let's just leave it at that. So you can bridge over. So it solves for everybody's solution, it seems like. So I think
and that's true. Like for me, the most that I usually go at one time is $1,000. But I mean, if you're doing like 10,000, 100,000, I'm sorry, but a $50 fee isn't really going to be a problem for you,
Yep. So I wanted Jesse. I know last time we kind of touched on it a little bit. I don't think everybody quite understands how big what Power City's working on. I mean, they've got the bridge, they've got the earn protocol. It's going to be very similar to liquid loans. Little small deltas. Once again, not getting into it. Go look at the video we did. Jesse spent a ton of time with us diving into that. Anything you could think about, it's been covered there. And then now you guys have also have like an NFT marketplace, and there's a few other things you guys were looking at. Anything you want to dive on that, or any updates on those?
Yeah, let me mention Earn one more time, though.
Absolutely.
You know, you said maybe people don't know about all the stuff we're building. It almost doesn't matter. They'll come. We know they're going to come because that emission to the stability providers and to the liquidity providers, it emits regardless of how many people are there, right? So when there's one guy there, because he's the only guy who, well, more people have heard about it, of course. But let's say you guys were the only ones who had ever heard of Earn Protocol, and you're sitting in there and you're earning, thousands of percent APR because you're the only ones making all the emissions. It's going to be a matter of seconds when people are like, holy crap, and everyone's going to come FOMOing in, right? So I'm not concerned about people not hearing about it. People are going to come. And people love their PulseX, and they don't want to sell it. So
no, and I'll add that one, Jesse. I mean, I'm sitting on a big bag of PulseX, and I've been ready to go for a while. So whenever you guys are ready, I'm ready. Matter of fact, I took some of the stuff, some of my, yield that I got off of the Pulse and off the liquid loans, and I swapped it into the PulseX. Honestly, I was using that to lower my DCA costs in the PulseX and Pulse. So, like I said, if anything, build those bags. And as we know right now, PulseX is still the more cheaper coin of the two. So that's something else to consider.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and just on a side note, the ratio between the two coins right now is in favor of, I believe, it's probably PulseX going into Pulse right now. I think is the deal right now, right? Or is it the other way around?
Yeah, it's PulseX going into Pulse right now.
Yep,
exactly.
Yep, because it's down to that 1-to-3 ratio almost. Yeah. Okay, something else to consider, that arbitrage trading to build up your bags. But yeah, I plan on holding PulseX and Pulse, so I definitely want to put that PulseX to work. So yeah, I'm eager to start using Earn, but at the same time, I want to make sure you guys get it right. So no rush. If you guys need the time, take time.
Yeah, look, Earn is ready to go, and we have a front end. We took a little bit different of approach than Liquid Loans. So Liquid Loans, their front end has a ton of information. It's not overwhelming. It has everything you need. It's easy. It tells you exactly what everything is, and there's several different tabs. There's tabs to learn. There's tabs to go get some graphics. There's tabs to look at analytics. There's lots of tabs, but it's still very easy. We took a little bit different of an approach because we actually have two different front ends. We've got an amplifier, which is an automation tool, which works on top of Liquid Loans. And there's tons of tabs in there too, by the way, because you can set all these different strategies and go to these different pages and set your strategies. And you can use that on top of Earn as well. For our standard front end for Earn, it is bare bones. It's all on one page with 3 buttons. You got your vault right here. Oh, it's not 3 buttons. It's like 3 squares. There it is, right? That is our front end, right? So if you like simple, this is about as simple as it gets, y'all.
So yeah, I agree. And honestly, now from a UI guy, obviously Liquid Loans looks a little bit more clean, but here's the thing. In crypto, I don't personally give a shit if it's still doing the same thing and it's responsive and the nuts and bolts are in place and it works correctly. I'm very happy. But once again, there's your vaults, your stability pool, staking. So if you've used Liquid Loans, it's going to feel the same. Even the terminology is the same. So I think it should be very similar. Like I said, if you've been playing around Liquid Loans, this is going to be a very easy transition for you. And like I said, I like it. Like I said, I'm ready to use it. I'm ready to go. So yeah, it's clean. It's very clean.
In Tracker, the one nice thing about the front end of Earn, and I love Liquid Loans myself, but everything's there in one click, right? If you want to look at risky vaults to try to liquidate someone, it's right there, one click. If you want to go to the redemptions, it's right there, one click, right? You don't have to pull up the menu and then click on them, right? So pretty much the 5 things that I do on the protocol, or what I do on Liquid Loans, is right here on the home screen. And so most of the things that you're going to be using all the time are right in front of you on one click, which is actually something that I like. And we don't know when this will be ready to launch yet, but the thing is, that each and every person should be doing is getting ready for it to launch, to feel comfortable, to understand what everything is, so that when it does launch, you're not behind the 8 ball. Because those first 6 hours, that first 12 hours, that first day on the protocol is where you're going to make your most exit. So you have to be ready to get in when this shit launches. And you got to be ready, and you got to know what you're doing. That's the bottom line. So we shouldn't worry about when it's going to launch. We should worry about being ready for when it does launch.
It's true. One question I got, Jesse, is so where will the LP appear here in order to create the LP? Are you guys going to have an LP between? I could have sworn when we talked about it, there would be.
Yeah. So this is what you guys have as far as testnet.
Yep.
We built the LP piece after we released this testnet. But yes,
okay, that's fine. No worries. So is it just going to be like a link up here, more or less?
You can come back with your LP tokens. You can stake them. You'll be able to do it right here on the platform.
Okay. And will there be a direct link here to take me to, I guess, PulseX, where it directs me to where I can do the LP pair?
So just like in the core, where you can get the LP contract, you'll see that. I believe, I have to go back and check, but you know how on the core we have a zapper function?
I'm not sure if I do.
All right. It's a way to click one button and provide liquidity right from, without ever having to go to PulseX directly. So that function may be on our front end. It's not essential for it to be there, and it doesn't change any underlying code.
Right.
It's literally a front end pointing at a contract that already exists. But you may find that where you can just provide liquidity one click from our front end.
Is it similar to the link that Liquid Loans had? When you click it, it takes you straight to the LP pair?
No. Okay, so if you it's literally easier than that. You click one button, it asks how much value you'd like to apply into the liquidity pool.
Nice.
And it zaps it in there. It puts it directly in the PulseX contract right there. It basically takes that little piece and uses our front end as a front end for PulseX, so you never actually have to go to PulseX to do it.
All right, nice, very cool.
Those are super handy. I know it gets kind of annoying sometimes when you got to go all the way to PulseX.
Well, to me, the simplest add of all of these interface protocols is the fact that you can just click these icons and they get added to your wallet. And it seems so simplistic, but how many people do you save for putting in the wrong, like a scam token or something like that into your wallet when you don't know, and they're right here for you. It's just a little feature. It's little touches like that that just simplify it for protecting people. So it was nice to have. Anything else you want to talk about Earn, Jesse?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, you could see it next week or the following week. We're ready to go.
Well, what have they told you? Is it one of those like, we'll get back to you, or we're working on it, and we're what is it? I know you guys are done.
So we have some meetings with them. I'm not at liberty to discuss everything that we talk about.
Fair enough. Sure, absolutely.
Look, we're getting closer, right?
Okay.
They had their moment to shine, by the way. They just launched. They have this giant fetch protocol that I don't know that the community understands how difficult that thing was for them to make. All right. Liquid Loans was hard. Fetch was 10 times harder, maybe more, right? To build that entire system up on the Pulse chain was not easy for those guys.
It's the entire data feed.
It's only what, a month and a few days old live, and them rolling that out to the community and making it easy for other people to start firing up reporters. That's just an entire process. We're working through that with them.
All right, understood. Very nice. What about the rest of Power City? Is there anything you want to talk about on anything on that? I know we've touched on Portal X.
People love the core. People love the core, although they're waiting for some rewards to start flowing in there. Some impatiently. When Earn Protocol goes live, all the rewards start flowing. So all the rewards that may have been accumulated from Portal X swap, for example, that's when those also get triggered and start flowing into the core when Earn Protocol goes live. So how much are those fees? I don't even know. I haven't looked recently. It's probably 100K, maybe more, maybe 150K or something. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of fees that's just racking up in a contract waiting for Earn to go live so they can flow to the community.
Interesting.
So do you want to be a staker and earn some of that? I don't know. Maybe you do. How many fees have gone to Liquid Loans so far? I think if you look at their Telegram, they pinned it. Let's take a look. Liquid Loan 349,000 USDL and 1,548,000 pulse, right? So 350K worth of USDL and I don't know, 150K worth of pulse or something. Okay, so not a lot. Although if you're a staker over there in Liquid Loans, it feels like a lot, right? If you're getting a good chunk of that. If you're a 1% or 5% guy like you were in the first few minutes, and maybe you got a lot of that. Maybe I have no idea. But look, that Portal X is also accumulating a ton of rewards, just waiting for Earn to go live. So if you're a staker in that core.powercity.io, when we release that thing, all those fees are just going to flow straight to the stakers. You're either there or you're not. If you're not, you're not going to get a dime of it. But they're instantly going to hit all at once. It's not going to be trickling in like it is. They've literally been accumulating up till now. So it's going to be like a big payday, right? It's just going to be like, bam, you got whatever you got, your proportion, right? So I think that's exciting. People aren't realizing that. We got Earn Protocol, we've got the Amplifier, and then we've got Pixel Park. And Pixel Park is our biggest build. We've got a huge team of people building out that. There's some cool art generation tools and some things that are unique that you won't find on other NFT platforms. And a lot of the Power City team, like the Pixel Park build, has been being built since the very beginning, and it'll be, I'm not going to say the last thing to get released, but of what we have so far, the last thing to get released, because it's just massive. It's huge. It's huge.
So what are you envisioning Pixel Park to be? I mean, obviously I'm assuming it's going to be a place where people can trade and swap NFTs, but also it sounds like it's a lot more than just that. It's going to be what exactly kind of features are we talking about it having?
So imagine a place where people can build art galleries and view them and display them to other people in a way that has never been done before. How much do I want to say?
No, I get it. I don't want to put you in the corner.
We got some really cool. We've got some really cool things, right? And our team, we've got two founders who are all over this, and they've got their team of devs who are all over this, and they're working through some AI challenges to make some of that work. They're working through some tokenomic stuff where the community people who build a NFT collection can build tokenomics into their collections. Not just, hey, I made an NFT, let me list it for sale. Somebody buys it or they don't. You can actually build tokenomics into your stuff. There's a whole bunch going on to make Pixel Park the one-stop shop where you can do anything with an NFT. You can make it into a financial tool. You can make it into a gallery. You can create all sorts of stuff, right? And I can't even discuss it all right now. It's so cool. I think it's going to blow out of the water any other NFT platform you've ever seen.
Jesse, what would be interesting to me with that protocol, Pixel Protocol, would be if you could fractionalize NFTs. something that's always been interesting to me is the ability for NFTs to potentially be real world assets. To be able to do that, we need to then be able to fractionalize it, to get multiple people to purchase it. So even a digital asset like an NFT that maybe doesn't have any real world utility, there still could be some interest in people selling a piece of it if it's popular enough that they can make some money on it, but don't want to get rid of the whole thing.
Right. Real world assets is important to me. I've always 2 years ago, I think I had a discussion about what if NFTs were used as titles for vehicles. You could transfer ownership of an expensive item in your home to somebody who's bought something from you by simply giving them the item. They pay you the money, but then you also transfer the NFT to them, and you doing that then proves ownership to them, right? They now own the NFT, which means they own the item. What if NFTs were? What if you bought a high dollar item, a TV? Okay, that's a horrible example because TVs just depreciate in value. But let's say you bought an expensive TV or something, and when you bought it, you just scan a QR code, do a little bit on your MetaMask or whatever, and bam, you just imported the NFT that includes the serial number to that TV. You are now the owner of that thing, right? You just proved ownership. And what happens if you had an insurance claim on all your expensive property in your house?
Yep.
And the insurance company says, well, list out all your valuables, your valuables. And you say, well, that's easy. Here's my wallet address. And all those items were burned up in it, except for this other one. Let me just pull that out of there and put it in a different wallet address. But all these in this wallet address you're looking at, all that stuff burned up. And they say, okay, no problem. And then they take possession of those NFTs and they burn them or whatever they want to do, and they transfer you the crypto. And a lot of this can be settled in almost real time. You file an insurance claim, they get the proof of ownership. They also collect the receipt of owning it because they've got to own it. Even if it's destroyed, they take possession of it, even if that's just the NFT. And then they just transfer you the crypto all through their automated systems, right? So it would speed up insurance claims. It would speed up, instead of lines at the DMV to register your vehicles, you could buy a vehicle, own an NFT title that belongs to you. Maybe there's some other verifications that go through when you want to sell that, right? Maybe a second address. A government-owned wallet address has to verify the authenticity of a send, right? Because people do get hacked. People lose their crypto, right? So there could be other methods of secondary verification when there's a sale of a vehicle or something. But then, look, you can literally get rid of the lines at the DMV. These NFTs can be generated instantly. Almost.
Yeah, what you're describing is that full tokenization that everyone's been talking about, how we could definitely be moving into that world, because it really is that true digital receipt on anything that you actually own. So case in point, so for insurance purposes, absolutely. I do know that some real estate companies down in, I think it was North Carolina or South Carolina, they were selling a few homes and they were actually using NFTs for the digital tokenization on the transfers of that, which was cutting out a lot of the paperwork as well.
Let me tell you something. Do you have no idea what's going on with Boxable?
Tell me.
Boxable Tiny Home Company. They're like a $3 billion corporation.
Oh, you're talking about, the little box homes that are set up. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Do you know that they're partnered with Power City and Pixel Park?
Nice. Very nice.
So,
cool.
So check this out. You can go read their tweets. They're literally partnered with Power City. So you can buy a tiny home on Pixel Park. When this launches, you can buy your tiny home.
That's cool.
So you will already have digital tokenization on these. Awesome.
It gets better. There's a waiting line when you go through the normal process to buy a Boxable tiny home. It could take many months to a year or more. Okay, because there's a waiting list.
So let me guess, this is an expedited path.
When you buy an NFT and you call them up and you say, "Hey, I bought an NFT. I wish to redeem it for my tiny home," you are put at the front of the line.
Hey man, they're pushing that because they're pushing that new product. They want to incentivize people to basically use this new feature they're putting in place. Smart, I like it.
Right, and it's a $3 billion company that's decided to be on Pulse Chain, and work with us to list their homes, their boxable, fold-up homes on Pixel Park, and nobody's talking about it.
Hey man,
but they
you
will.
just
But
talked about it. One of the biggest problems in crypto is, hey, if I've made some gains, what do I do? How do I move myself into actual hard assets? Well, there you go. So that's the tokenization aspect of it. So yeah, very interesting.
We're going to
Jesse,
need a
got
full
lot of stuff
episode
up
on
your sleeve.
Pixel Park Tracker.
Yep.
Yep.
I'll
Very
have to
nice.
get I'll have to get Toshi Flow or PJ Pulse Jesus on here, and get them in their wheelhouse.
Yeah, I know somebody. Actually, I know a developer that actually built, essentially built an entire protocol so that you can tokenize real world assets. So people really want this. People see value in it. I've been talking about it for a long time, and the things that you're talking about, Jesse, are just incredible and very, very exciting that you're already working on this.
Yeah, and you know what? People think, some people think, oh, we'll never have NFT ownership of things, houses, cars, and I don't know about that. Technology doesn't typically go backwards, right? It only moves forward. It's the people,
It's people
that are
problems.
resistant.
It's always people problems.
It's the people that stay in one place all the time. It's kind of like the old lady at the grocery store who still writes a paper check, and it takes her 5 minutes while you're sitting there thinking about your crypto. Like, oh my gosh, I wish I could just crypto this money straight through and walk out with my groceries.
In fact, I know her name. Her name is Nancy Pelosi.
Or the old guy with the debit card. Look, debit cards and credit cards have been around for what, 35, 40 years now, maybe longer. Okay.
Talking about credit cards or debit cards?
Both, either one. A little plastic.
Credit cards around. They started messing around those mid 1940s.
Okay, so check it out, man. They've been around for
a long time, man.
80 years. 80 years.
I know.
Okay. A little rectangle piece of plastic, but you still get these old guys who pretend like they don't know what the heck it is. Like, they got their wallet, they pull it out, and they put the thing in sideways and upside down, and they can't figure it out. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? These things have been out, like you said, since the 1940s. What are you doing? Right? So technology will always move forward. It's the people that that just don't get it. But I think we will see financial products that move at the speed of light, and maybe NFTs have a part of that in the future.
I think that the mass adoption comes when, unfortunately, to make the money is now, because it's in the early phases, but it's not necessarily perfected. Once it's perfected, all the good money you could have made is come and gone, in my opinion, outside of, rotating them into other assets and things of that nature. But the easy money is now in the early infrastructures. When I say early, I'm not saying early for Bitcoin. I'm not saying early for Ethereum. I'm saying early for DeFi. There is so many different there's so many different solutions you can come up with this. So I kind of feel like I kind of posted a day. I feel like we're right around the year 2002 for the internet. Somewhere in that ballpark is where we are. And I was typing up something around mass adoption, and I was saying, the argument between Steve and Wozniak about how to design Apple. And Wozniak was like, hey, engineers, man, they want to configure and do it the way they want to do it. And Steve was like, no, we need to dumb this down for the users so that it's just simple and easy for them to do, because they don't know what the hell they're doing. We need to protect them. Both are correct, but from a mass, Apple's exploded because it is simplistic and it takes all the, hard effort out of the way. Of course, with that, you give up your, and the terminology that I was using was, you are giving up a lot of your freedoms and things like that when you are leaning on those companies to do this for you. But so what do you want? Do you want to understand the technology, and use it, or do you just want somebody to hand something to you and use this technology? Because if you are, you're playing in their basically in their house, and the house is
Right.
going to control how they want to control it. So, but I guess ultimately what I'm saying is, like, soon as they simplify things more, it's going to grow, it's going to explode. It's going to, because it's just technology evolving. It's just that I think what you're describing too is the regulators and things of that nature are holding it down, because honestly, the regulators are holding it back for two reasons. One, it's a threat to their establishments, their traditional establishments, because they never really had an actual, combatant that can, threaten them. Now they do. And then at the same time, the regulators, whether they're, being told to suppress it or whatever, or I think honestly, the biggest problem is the regulators, they don't even know what the hell they're looking at, because it doesn't even fit into they're trying to say, I can only work with squares and rectangles. And here you are giving me an octagon. I don't know what to do with this thing. And that's the problem. So
Right.
like they're talking basic arithmetic. We're talking calculus. And unfortunately, that's where we are. So I'm excited, man. I didn't realize you guys had that much going on, Pixar. Yeah, we're going to have to do a deep dive in that one. You're gonna have to shoot me some stuff, Jesse, and we'll do a deep dive on that one.
Yeah. Do a
Well, they
search on
kind of
our Twitter
continue the party.
for the word boxable.
What was that? The boxable?
Do a search on our Twitter for the word boxable.
All right, we'll do.
You'll find some tweets.
That's an awesome idea. I love that so much. That's something that is real world assets combined with NFTs. That's something that people don't understand about NFTs. Like, I mean, you're getting these $100,000 JPEGs, right? And people are like, oh, we don't like those things. And it's like, well, okay, here's the deal though. There is a use case for them. We just haven't found that yet. And the use case is exactly as you say right here. Sasha Tagger over here, he actually was asking, how would it differ to OpenSea, Pixel Park? And I think you've already named off a lot.
Oh yeah, it's got way more than OpenSea.
Way more. And
OpenSea is a very clean. It's a very clean platform, but they actually stripped a lot of the functionality away from the creators. Creators can't build tokenomics into their collections. They can't choose how they want their artwork displayed. It's just all, rectangles all in order. They can't it's kind of stripped down. It has all the functionality that the basics want, but it doesn't have the cool stuff that people like. That brings the extra marketing and extra tokenomics and financial products and making money side of things, perhaps, that people like. They stripped all that out.
Yeah, it seems more like I would say it's like a marketplace for sure, but it's kind of like, we have one here. Would you like to buy this one? No? Okay, we'll go over to this one, then buy that one. That's really the only real true use case I've kind of seen out of OpenSea. Whereas Pixel Park is really like, there's a lot of things being built into it. So looking forward to that. And then we also
I've got to convince these other founders on the team to showcase some of Pixel Park. We've been so kept it all private, kept it all very close.
Yeah, well, and rightfully so. You don't want people to
rightfully
steal your
so, because
ideas.
There's like 10 NFT platforms on Pulse Chain already, right? So it's like, well, at what point do we want to throw our cards out on the table, right? How about when those other ones are already all built, and they'd have to start all over again to catch up, right?
Yeah, so I would say you don't want to release it until you're about to go live. In theory, I mean, you give these teasers out, you tell what you're doing and stuff like that's coming up, but then that's when you drop it out. Yeah, you don't share your hand, that's for sure.
Yep.
So what about the auto compounder tools? I know that you have the amplifier and the accelerator yield compounder. Is that basically, I think we touched base on this last time, is the accelerator yield compounder, is that more like a scripts that are running that just, basically reapofficate your yields back into whatever you're earning them from?
Yeah, so the idea of both, and you should see the amplifier. We'll throw it up on testnet at some point. It's always a question: do we release Earn Protocol live and then amplifier on testnet, or do we throw testnet amplifier out there first and then Earn Protocol live? That's always a point of discussion, and so far it's always like, well, we think we're right around the corner with Earn. Let's launch that first. So, but anyway, the whole idea is you've got pools everywhere, whether it's the stability pool and the staking pool, right? And people like to go back and forth between those two things. Or people like to take one asset that they're earning in one of those pools and go one direction with it, but the other asset, they just like to have liquid in their wallet. The protocol allows you to pre-select what you want to happen with all your earnings. So while you're in there, you're in the stability pool, you're in the staking pool, it literally will just do what you pre-told it to do. If you're earning USDL and you've told it, just claim that straight liquid to my wallet constantly. You'll just look at your liquid MetaMask wallet, and every day you'll see the USDL count go up because it's auto claiming that for you.
Yeah,
Or
I was going to ask you.
Or if you told it to put that into the stability pool, you'll look at your stability pool every day, and the stability pool quantity of USDL is just going up on you all the
So
time.
question on that, just a question on that, Jesse. So is it going to be like a user interface, and I just basically, I give it its directions through some type of user interface, that a drop down screen, some buttons and some stuff, text fields, and I fill this out, and then basically that's just a UI that basically wraps the scripting on the back end so that it automates the features for me, so I don't have to manually do it? I mean, it's going to automate it essentially, but then how does it handle the transaction fees? Are those somehow
So you
rolled
actually
up?
you fund it with gas, and you have like, you just drop some pulse into this. You go into the interface. There's a spot for you to deposit gas. So throw like $10 for the pulse in there or whatever. It'll even estimate how many transactions it thinks it'll be able to run for you. It'll estimate that because gas goes up and down in price.
Sure.
And then you just let it run, and it just uses that to fund the gas.
Yeah, it's setting up the script but you're using the user interface. All right, so that's fantastic. So basically you set it and forget it and come back, and it's just doing whatever you told it to do, and it's automating. That's nice. But I want to let the audience know you guys had this built out, and then it's on top of it. So will this also play with liquid loans?
Yes. So we built it first we built it on top of Liquidity, because liquid loans, we started building this before liquid loans was on public testnet. So we got the ball rolling, and we
so question is
then,
this available on Ethereum where you could do it against Liquidity?
We could. It's extremely easy for us if we wanted to launch it on Ethereum for people to use it over there. The problem is the gas. The same question.
Yeah. Well,
are you going to fund it with like thousands of dollars worth of gas?
Yeah, exactly. If that's when we get up to like $150, $200 a transaction, that could be brutal.
Right. So, but this absolutely will work. You'll find that you have a tab for liquid loans, and you can do all your auto compounding functions and everything in there. And then there's another one for Earn protocol. We'll also have two different URLs that point to each if you'd like to just go straight to one URL or another.
I got to bring it up though, but see, that's the beauty behind crypto and the open source and DeFi capabilities. That's how you guys were able to incorporate. I'm assuming, correct? That's the way you were able to build this out, because it is open source, it is DeFi, and that's how you guys were able to play and plug into other protocols and applications, is because of this. And of course, obviously the smart contracts and things of that nature have been built. So yeah, that's
we built it on top of it on top of Liquidity first, and then once Liquid Loans was on testnet, we're like, okay, sweet, let's compare the contracts. Okay, everything matches, and all we had to do was point the different functions in there to the correct contracts on Pulse Chain, the Liquid Loans contracts, and then on the interface, just make sure everything was. Instead of it saying LUSD, it says USDL. Instead of saying liquid LQTY, it said whatever. So there's a little bit of work to get it pointed in the right direction. And then we had forked Liquidity too. So then it's like, okay, we just got to launch a whole new instance of this thing, and then point it to our own contracts, and then make a tab for it. And now you could do both, right?
I got to ask this.
So
So
real quick,
you guys,
we
go ahead,
actually,
Nate. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, we have a question from Russ in the chat, actually.
Mhm.
So is there a nice way to ask how how does Pixel Park compare to Mintra?
Not really. Because I want to be supportive of everything on Pulse Chain, because I'm very proud of what everybody on Pulse Chain has done. No matter
Agreed.
where, no matter what you're building, whether it's big or small, successful or non-successful, as long as you're not a scam, kudos to you. You're building, you're trying to make the chain better. You're building a community of people who hopefully stick around on Pulse Chain, right?
Amen. That's what I'm
But
talking about.
but I do not want to get into the differences of our protocol versus theirs.
Yeah, you don't want to tip your hands right now. You're in building mode.
And
Yeah,
I
I
just
get it.
don't think at this stage it's just not professional, you know.
It's fair. Yep, absolutely. So, do you guys have a relationship with Liquidity?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, I
All
think
right.
Liquid Loans does. They've talked to those guys.
Okay.
Well, actually, I've talked to their head of growth and marketing several times on Twitter, but that's the extent of my connection to Liquidity.
I'm just curious. Is it? Do they don't mind the idea it's been forked?
They
Do
absolutely don't mind. They don't
Okay,
mind,
nice.
but they also kind of don't care. They have a very successful protocol on ETH.
Yep.
They purposely built it to be open source, decentralized. Anybody can run it. It has already been forked multiple times. People have tried to, so it's been forked and put on Binance. It was a failure. It wasn't a failure because the contracts are broken. It was a failure because there was no community. Somebody tried to put it on, what was Teddy Cash? Is Teddy Cash on AVAX chain or Phantom chain? I can't remember. One of those chains. There was a protocol called Teddy Cash, and it is a fork of Liquidity. But again, it was super non-successful. It looks like it went straight to zero and nothing happened. And it's simply because they had no community. They had no YouTube videos. They had their Telegram had like 100 people in it. There's nobody available to answer questions. Cool, you can launch a contract, but that's just one piece of being successful. The community side is the other half of that, right? So Liquid Loans, that was a fork, and it may be the only successful fork of Liquidity up till now, until Earn, of course. But it may become more successful than Liquidity. Now, let that soak in for a minute. To have a fork of something, at least of a protocol, become more successful than the thing that it forked, that's insane.
Well, it is insane, but I think when you break down, let's look at it in face value here. So you've got Pulse Chain, massive community, massive a number of influencers, a lot of sharp people in this area, fully decentralized. Gas fees are peanuts compared to Ethereum. What I'm saying is you have a perfect storm here where I can see Pulse Chain taking off. And if you have products like this coming in here that are being built properly and being really vetted and professionally done, rates and crisp, clean, responsive time, great user interface, no bugs, none. Everything I'm seeing so far, I can see it coming. So when you say, would I be shocked? I wouldn't be shocked. I think the only thing that's holding back all this products is just one thing. That's more mass adoption, which goes back to the simplification of things for use of the users, basically. So I can see it.
Have you ever heard somebody ask, well, why didn't they just fork Maker? Or have you ever?
No, but I know you'll have the answer because I know you're heavily into a lot of these, locking up of various protocols across different networks, because you're definitely much more of a subject matter expert in that field, I'd say. So please elaborate.
So Maker is where DAI comes from, everyone. And there's a couple problems there. Maker is it's run by a DAO. There's voting mechanisms. You have to hold these maker tokens, and if you hold these maker tokens, you can make changes to the protocol. Those are all centrally controlled. Interestingly enough, Richard may be one of the largest holders of DAI. He's not one of the largest holders of Maker. Those two sentences together equals risk. He holds a huge amount of DAI, and other people hold all the power, the voting power, right? So there's risk there. Now, throughout the years, people have voted for USDC to be included as part of the collateral to back DAI. Then they subsequently voted to take it back out again when that went horribly wrong, right? When USDC depegged because there were concerns about a potential bankruptcy of a partner with Circle, and it's like, okay, so USDC has risks because it's very centralized, and if them or one of their partners goes
100%.
bankrupt or they become under collateralized, USDC becomes an issue. And then you have this decentralized thing called DAI, and you have all these voters who voted to include this highly centralized stablecoin as collateral for DAI. It just didn't make any sense, right? And once USDC depegged, actually a year and a half ago or so, it depegged pretty heavily for a whole day or two. They were like, "Oh shit," and they voted to take it back out again. And they're like, "Oh, we don't want that. We don't want USDC anymore." So do you really want a protocol where people that are just richer than you can just make changes whenever they want to? Or would you rather have something that's completely unchangeable, verifiable in code, and everybody knows what it's going to do no matter what, it'll never change? And I lean towards, I like immutable, something that'll never change. There's other problems with DAI that Liquidity had seen as issues. One is the liquidation mechanism is extremely inefficient, so inefficient that to create DAI, you have to collateralize yourself at between 130 and 150% minimum. Now, in liquid loans or an earn is 110% minimum, which means the most you could ever lose in the worst situation ever, the worst black swan, you might lose 10% if you're liquidated. 10% of your value. You've already got the stable coins, but that liquidation point is at 110%. So you only lose 10%. With Maker, it's so inefficient that the minimum is between 130 and 150, which means you lose half your bag if you get liquidated. You could get 150K liquidated and only have 100K worth of DAI to show for it.
No,
That's ridiculous.
Quick question on that one, Jesse, not to get too, make sure I'm following you. So I follow on the liquidation aspect, the 110, but does that on the other protocol we use 130 to 150, how does it swing, or how is it not a set number? Like what's the fluctuation? Is that because the community or the people that are governance are deciding what that number is going to be and it's always changing?
No, it depends on what you collateralize to make the DAI.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, okay. It's going off
So
the value.
if you had
Okay.
come in with USDC and some ETH, perhaps you could mint some DAI at the 130%, right? But then they voted and they changed it. Now it's all ETH, and they say, oh, okay, maybe it's 150% because you're coming in with ETH. Okay. Now, the liquidation mechanism is so inefficient because it takes 6 hours to clear. When you're liquidated.
Oh, why does it take 6 hours to clear? I mean, we're talking crypto here.
Because your ETH gets taken away from your vault over a Maker, and it gets put up for auction for a period of 6 hours for people to place their bids on it and buy it at a discount.
Oh, okay, so it's an
and
auction.
It's like,
You're auctioning out the debt. Gotcha.
Right. And the price just gets higher and higher until, at the end of that period, the highest bidder wins it. Right. And they just scored ETH at maybe a discount. So it's like that process takes 6 hours. So the reason why that liquidation point is, let's say it's at 150%. Well, that gives it time where if ETH was falling in value, let's say ETH did a big dive of 20, 30%, okay, that gives time for that debt to still be sitting at the auction without it too much at risk of under collateralizing the DAI that's already out there that's supposed to be backed by it. Okay, so you have this weird system that takes a long time that actually puts all the DAI at risk of becoming under collateralized if there's a big dip in ETH. But in Liquidity, they recognized that that was a problem, and they said that's BS. It should not take 6 hours to clear a debt that's about to be bad. If you have a debt that's within 10% of becoming bad debt, you need to clear it instantly. And how do you do that? You have the funds available ready in advance, and we'll call that a stability pool. Okay? The stability pool in Liquidity buys the debt instantly, clears it, done. It's cleared. You're never at risk of this black swan where you have this these stable coins that are unbacked. Right? So they kind of looked at the maker model, and all they said was the DAO has to go, make it immutable, and instead of an auction, have the funds to clear the debt available immediately in a stability pool. That's it. That's all they changed. And it made it infinitely better than DAI. And someday people are going to realize that. People are realizing that. It's interesting because on ETH, you will see some weird depegging stuff happen every year with these stable coins. Every single time. Every time. LUSD does not depeg. It goes, in fact, it goes up. It depegs to the upside. It goes to like $1.03 or $1.05. And the reason for that is everyone's flowing into it. They're flooding into it because they know how safe it is.
Yeah, we saw that big spike. Saw the big spike on USDL because they came in, they bought up a big scoop, and it was one of those. It was a flash. It lasted about 15 to 20 minutes, but it was a nice jump. It was about a week ago when it jumped, and yeah, it gave a nice opportunity for people who were on at that time. It was, I want to say, January 2nd was when that spike occurred. But normally, you're right. When you see the spikes, it's coming. Those spikes occur to the upside. I'm not seeing a whole lot of spikes to the downside. At most, maybe 95 cents. But yeah, like you said, I mean, that's just the arbitrage trade.
It's almost impossible for it to go to the downside for more than a second or two. Look, people don't realize that a DEX such as Uniswap or PulseX or 9inch or any of these other DEXs, PHUX is unique, actually. It's a balancer, and it does know what's supposed to be a stable coin. But most DEXs, there's no special, hey, these are stable coins. They're supposed to be $1. Okay? All it is a hash number paired to another hash number, a quantity of these ones and a quantity of these ones. Okay? This one could be shitcoin whatever, and this one could be whatever coin whatever, and they're paired together, and the ratio between those two tokens defines their value. The DEX does not know that one of those is supposed to be $1. They're just tokens. Okay, so how do you keep one of them steady at $1? It's very simple. It's extremely simple. You make it redeemable for $1 somewhere, right? So will something, let's say you had a random coin, we'll call it random coin. Can you mint a ton of random coins and pair them to Pulse and tell everyone it's a stable coin and think that it's going to be at $1? And if that's all you did is just mint a bunch of them and pair them? No. Because there's no financial motive for people to keep it at $1. People will speculate on it, and the price will go up and the price will go down over and over. People say, well, I think it's supposed to be $1. Okay, why do you think it's supposed to be $1? Because I want it to be $1. And people will buy it and the price will go up. And then people will say, well, I don't think it's supposed to be $1. And they'll sell it and the price will go down. Just like any other, like any meme coin or any token out there. The only thing that makes a stable coin stay at $1 is because somewhere it's redeemable for $1 or $1 worth of something. So in the case of PXDC, for example, yes, it is going to be paired to Pulse, and you're going to see it move around. You'll see a spike. Somebody's going to come in someday, and they're going to dump 200K worth of it, and the price is going to go down to 97 cents. But does it stay there? No, it doesn't. Because you can buy it at a discount. You can see it. No, wow, it's only 97 cents right there. I only have to spend 97 cents worth of Pulse, and I can get one stable coin. And I know that it's redeemable for $1 worth of Pulse X directly in the protocol by clicking one button, right? So what happens is people literally buy it back up all the way to $1 very, very quickly because there's a financial incentive to do so, because you can redeem it for $1 and make that 3% difference, with the spread in there. Of course, as it gets closer, that's no longer 3%, but nobody wants money.
Yep.
It is impossible for people to let that money sit there on the table, staring them in the face when they're looking at a 3% gain. That all it takes is 2 clicks to make, right?
And at the same time, they know they're on a clock because they know somebody else is going to pounce on it and take that all day long. So it's a cat race who gets there first. So that's the other incentive, to know that you can't sit there. You see it, you better act quick.
Yep.
And they don't have to worry about the gas fees. On Ethereum, you have to worry about the gas fees. Here, it's negligible. So that's a really big thing. On other platforms, it might not work as well because they have to take those high gas fees into consideration when they make those transactions. But here, it makes it viable because of the low gas fees.
100%. You don't see these. You see it spike, but that's literally normal. You even see the same things happen with USDC, with DAI, USDT, because again, the DEXs do not know that this token is supposed to be $1. The only thing that keeps them at $1 is because they're redeemable for $1 of something somewhere, right? So the spikes you see are normal. It always goes straight back to $1. And in some cases, it goes above $1, which is a whole nother topic of discussion, how you arbitrage it the reverse direction. But we'll cover that a different day.
Hey, Nate, do we have any other questions in the comments and all? I know we've been going at it about 2.5 hours now. We've covered some serious alpha here for everybody.
This is some serious stuff, man.
I'd like to know, do we have any other further questions for anybody in the chats or anything like that? Or can we?
Not that we've seen.
Or can we let Jesse go and actually enjoy the rest of his evening?
Oh yeah, we do. We got one from T2. Who does the initial earn supply go to?
Well, you'll find that it's in a series of contracts that are claimable over a period of time to everybody in the community who they're supposed to go to. So that's an interesting mechanic. I have talked about this on camera before. The community who's eligible for these things, these earn tokens, how will they get them? Well, you'll have to come hit a claim button. And you may wish to hit that claim button every day, or 10 times a day, or 100 times a day. Maybe for a period of 6 months, you're going to come back and you're going to keep hitting it before you have all your tokens. That's going to force people to keep coming back over and over and over. As everybody proportionally grows together, the whole community is claiming, diving in to get their 6-month supply of tokens that's being emitted to them. But you better come back and hit claim as often as possible to get your full share. So it's not everyone has them all at once and then everyone dumps. Good luck with that. We thought about that too.
I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Alrighty. Well, it looks like we've been at this for 2.5 hours now. So thinking here we'll probably close out. Do you guys have anything else to add?
I just want to say that our Sunday stream coming up in just 3 days is going to be a bit of a Q1 thesis. So we got some alpha that we will be bringing you, everything from macroeconomics to technical analysis to on-chain data. So we're going to be touching on a lot of different things that could make the market move. And I'm super excited. Just this past week has just been finally some phenomenal green candles in the Pulse ecosystem and the Richard Hart ecosystem. And for me, that's the last thing I got to say. Can't wait to see everybody. It's been a fantastic stream. Jesse, first time I've been able to talk to you on stream, and I've been just chomping at the bit for Earn to come out. So I'm ready.
Yep. Just be patient. Don't capitulate. There's a lot of, if you notice, there's always these OGs who just keep like dumping their bags. Like there's literally some early hexagons now who are like living. There's one guy living in a tent because he sold his bag at the, maybe he sold his bag at the bottom. There's another one waiting in line to like get food from a food pantry because he sold his Pulse at the bottom. Look, don't be that guy who dumps too early because trading doesn't work. Richard even says that.
Yep.
Trading and thinking you're just going to swing trade or get in at the perfect time. Nobody's in at the perfect time ever. Okay. Sometimes you got to wait your turn. And sometimes when protocols launch, they do go down a lot. But again, if you learn how to use a protocol and you're patient and the community likes a protocol, things turn around and that's when you make a lot of money. So just be patient.
Will Stevenson is in the chat. He says he lives in a shipping container. It's true. He does. He really does. All right. So yeah, Tracker, what have you got?
Honestly, I'm probably going to start taking a look a little bit at this NFT pixel parks and the boxing combination that Jesse's got. It's very intriguing. I'd love to do a deep dive on that. Other areas that I'm going to be getting into that I'm already heavily into, something outside of the Pulse chain ecosystem. I've been heavily getting into more of the GameFi and GambleFi tokens, more of the tons of different projects out there. I think there's a lot of value in that area. I think when you talk about NFTs, you talk about gaming, you're talking about, the crypto world. I mean, that's an area it's about to pop off. There's a lot of things starting to roll out. So I'm heavily in depth in that. I've been probably reviewing, I don't know, 40, 50 different projects there, diving into that stuff, trying to understand it, trying to roll that out. I know I think me and Jay are going to try to get it together next week to start diving into some of the TA and potential on-chain data metrics to start to kind of get a better gauge on, timing of what's the market looking like, what is historically, what is everything shown us and seen, so we can build a nice suite of gauges as far as like, because it's real simple. I mean, yes, you can't foresee the future, but if you can tweak and create enough, tools to help monitor the progression of the overall market, it gives you just a little bit more of an accurate, to make a more logical guess, is how I put it. But if you understand these tools, one area that's heavily underutilized, I think, in crypto is the on-chain data that people don't utilize enough. Yes, can it be a little bit manipulated, or because central exchanges do, and keep everything housed in their area? True, but they still have to buy it off the open market somewhere. So, and I think with these NFT ETFs and things of that nature are starting to spin up. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
So I actually had to clarify this the other day, and I don't mean to step on you when I say this, but it's super interesting, and people need to know this. There's some exchanges that'll have to buy tokens off the open market. All right. There's other exchanges that want a free handout from the community, like from founders and stuff. Right.
Yep.
But there's other exchanges that will open up deposits for a week or two before they open trading. Right. What does that mean? You could be on an exchange, maybe it's like MEXC or something, and you'll notice, oh, they opened up deposits for, let's just say it's Watt token. And you can send your Watt token into the exchange, but you can't trade with it yet. And once enough people do that, and the exchange has possession of those because people have sent them in, right? At that point, they'll make an announcement saying, we're opening up trading for Watt tokens starting tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. So that sometimes it's funded by the community of users themselves. So there's 3 ways that exchanges get tokens.
Gotcha.
And I only know that because we have tokens and we've been through this. So
no, that's a good point. It's a great point. Jesse, I'm going to tee it up for you now. What do you got going on? Where can we follow you? And just like we did with WaLLrus, WaLLrus and Liquid Loans, we're definitely going to put your links down here and your media. We have a lot of your content, but where can people follow you guys and what you guys got going on?
Yeah, powercity.io, Twitter, Telegram. Telegram page is where everyone hangs out, has a good time, talks about the protocols, asks the questions if they think they're having issues. There's always people helping each other out in there. Telegram is literally the fastest way to get answers. The Twitter, there's always news announcements there. I am everywhere. You'll find me at Liquid Loans. You'll find me at Power City. You'll find me in side channels. You'll find me all over Twitter. You'll find me on YouTube places. And my name's always the same. Just Ask Jesse.
Awesome. So yeah, we're going to be putting that in the description and everything as well. Make sure you guys go down there and take a look around. So yeah, for sure. You know, one thing, it's absolutely incredible what Pixel Park is trying to do. Quite frankly, I had no idea about any of that. When I first saw Pixel Park, I originally was thinking like, oh, okay, another like Mintra or OpenSea or something like that, right? That was my initial thoughts. I didn't really look too deeply into it, but now that you're talking about it, you're trying to do exactly what I think is going to be one of the new narratives coming, you know, as the bull ramps up. And I just got done doing a video about this, about the bull mindset versus the bear mindset, right? And in the bull mindset, you want to be trying to front run these narratives that people are going to get hyped over. A part of that is going to be, as of right now, it's going to be real world assets with NFTs, because people don't like NFTs right now, but they will. They certainly will. So yeah, I think that's absolutely amazing. You guys are kind of front running that. That's something I'm going to be looking into. I suppose that'll be a me and Tracker deep dive here someday soon. So, but with that being said, yes, we do have ourselves. Please like and subscribe, as well as joining our Telegram. It's free for now. But yeah, you know, if the more you guys show support, the more it is that we love to bring you the best possible content. And yeah, we also have a TA stream that is going to be happening on the 17th. We've got Access, Boogie, Toby One, Great Value, TAJ. It's going to be huge, absolutely gigantic.
Stupid amount of talent in that stream.
Extreme. And not only that too, but also this Sunday we have our Q1 thesis for 2024. That's something that you guys don't want to miss, and it's something that I rarely see a lot of other streamers do. This thesis is going to help prepare you for what's coming and maybe give you ideas on how you want to position yourself. So make sure you don't miss that. It's going to be highly important, absolutely vital. And so with that being said, I think we've done a great job here today. And hey, it's not financial advice, financial entertainment.
Great caveat. I had a great time. I had a great time with y'all and WaLLrus today. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, we absolutely love it when you're able to get on. And I'm not gonna lie, the alpha that you have with like stables and all that is absolutely just mind blowing. There's things in here that I'm gonna have to go back now and re-listen to.
Oh, it never ends, man. You want to hear how you cut down redemptions? I'll tell you about pairing stablecoins together so it minimizes redemptions, and then people start minting more stablecoins on each platform. We'll talk about that on a different day too.
Wow, that'd be crazy.
When there's tons of redemptions, people start to raise their collateral health way higher, right?
Yeah.
To try and avoid being redeemed against. Well, that literally means people are minting less stablecoins because their collateral health just keeps getting
exactly.
Yeah.
But you can cut down on that by pairing stablecoins together. And then, because how do you do a redemption? You find a 97-cent stablecoin, you buy it, and then you redeem it.
Yeah.
But what happens when you have stablecoins paired together? You can still buy a 97-cent stablecoin with the dollar stablecoin. There's paired to. You can literally arb back and forth and just swap back and forth.
Yeah, it's like this. It's
right.
It's kind of going like this. If you get like two together, if you got one that's always like literally always at $1, and you got one that does this, I mean, what are you doing with it, right?
You just swap them back and forth. You buy the cheaper one with the more expensive one constantly, right? People can even write bots to do that. That cuts back on those redemptions. which people initially complain about. They're like, oh, but I'm in the staking pool. I love the redemption fees. Don't worry, because when you cut back on the redemptions, now you have more of these things being minted and you're still getting more fees anyway. Right. So look, the alpha will always come. I love it. Thanks for having me on. We'll do it again.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Absolutely love it. And thank you again for coming on. And hey, you guys, I hope you have yourselves an absolutely amazing night. And remember, degen responsibly.